Welcome, dear listener, to a journey through the most extraordinary stories ever told. Tonight, as you settle into the gentle embrace of rest, we shall travel together across continents and through millennia, exploring the myths and legends that have shaped human civilization since the very dawn of consciousness. These are the stories that our ancestors whispered around flickering fires, tales passed from grandmother to grandchild, from priest to pilgrim, from bard to village gathering. They are stories of gods who walked among mortals, of heroes who dared to challenge the impossible, of monsters who lurked in the darkness beyond the firelight, and of creation itself, that mysterious moment when something emerged from nothing. As you rest tonight, allow these ancient narratives to wash over you like gentle waves upon an endless shore. There is no need to memorize names or remember every detail. Simply let the rhythm of these stories carry you, as they have carried countless generations before you, into the peaceful realm of dreams. Our journey tonight will take us to every corner of the ancient world. We shall begin in the primordial darkness, before the first sunrise, when the universe itself was still unformed. From there, we shall watch as different cultures imagined the birth of the cosmos, each in their own beautiful and unique way. We will meet the gods of Olympus and the Nile, the deities of the frozen north and the tropical forests. We shall follow heroes through impossible trials and witness the eternal struggle between order and chaos that lies at the heart of every mythology. And throughout it all, we shall discover the profound truths about human nature that these stories reveal. So close your eyes if you wish, let your breathing slow and deepen, and allow these timeless tales to embrace you. For tonight, we explore the stories that made us who we are. Before we begin our exploration of specific mythologies, let us take a moment to understand what myths truly are and why they have persisted across every human culture throughout history. The word myth comes from the ancient Greek word mythos, which simply means story or word. But myths are far more than simple entertainment. They represent humanity's earliest attempts to understand the deepest questions of existence. Why is there something rather than nothing? Where did we come from? What happens when we die? Why do the seasons change? Why must there be suffering? These questions have haunted human consciousness since our species first developed the capacity for abstract thought. And long before science offered its explanations, mythology provided answers that were emotionally and spiritually satisfying, even if they were not literally true in the modern sense. The great mythologist Joseph Campbell spent his life studying the myths of cultures around the world, and he discovered something remarkable. Despite vast differences in geography, language, and historical development, human beings everywhere have told strikingly similar stories. Heroes embark on journeys, face trials, and return transformed. The world begins in chaos and moves toward order. Death is followed by rebirth. Good struggles eternally against evil. Campbell called this the monomyth, or the hero's journey, and suggested that these universal patterns reflect the common structure of the human mind itself. We tell the same stories because we share the same fundamental experiences of birth, growth, struggle, love, loss, and death. Mythology is, in a very real sense, the autobiography of the human species. Another great scholar of myth, Mircea Eliade, emphasized how myths provide what he called sacred time. In ordinary life, we experience time as linear, moving inexorably from past to future. But myths take us outside of ordinary time into a realm where the foundational events of existence are eternally present. When ancient peoples performed rituals reenacting their creation myths, they were not merely remembering the past. They were, in their understanding, actually participating in creation itself, renewing the world and their place within it. This explains why myths have such emotional power even today, thousands of years after they were first told. They speak to something deep within us, something that reason alone cannot satisfy. As the psychologist Carl Jung observed, myths are the dreams of humanity. Just as our individual dreams reveal the hidden workings of our personal unconscious, myths reveal the collective unconscious that we all share. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you may find these ancient stories touching something deep within your own psyche. The hero facing impossible odds may mirror your own struggles. The creation emerging from chaos may echo your own process of growth and transformation. The gods, with their all too human flaws, may reflect aspects of yourself that you barely acknowledge in waking life. This is the magic of mythology. These are not merely stories about the past. They are mirrors in which we glimpse eternal truths about ourselves. Let us begin, as all creation myths begin, with the question of origins. How did the universe come to be? What existed before existence itself? One of the most widespread creation motifs across world mythology is the cosmic egg. From China to Africa, from ancient Greece to the Pacific Islands, human beings have imagined the universe emerging from an egg, that perfect symbol of potential life waiting to be born. In ancient Chinese mythology, we find the beautiful story of Pangu and the cosmic egg. In the beginning, there was nothing but darkness and chaos, a formless void where the forces of yin and yang, darkness and light, earth and heaven, were mixed together in complete confusion. This primordial chaos gradually coalesced into the shape of a great egg, and within this egg, perfectly balanced between opposing forces, there slept the first being, the giant Pangu. For 18,000 years, Pangu slumbered within the cosmic egg, and as he slept, his body grew. The forces of yin and yang slowly began to separate, the heavy darkness sinking downward, the light rising upward. And finally Pangu awoke. Finding himself trapped within the egg, the giant stretched his mighty limbs and cracked the shell. The light, clear yang energies rose up to become the heavens, while the dark, heavy yin energies sank down to become the earth. Pangu stood between them, his feet upon the earth, his hands supporting the sky, and he began to push. Every day the heavens rose 10 feet higher, the earth sank 10 feet lower, and Pangu grew 10 feet taller, keeping earth and sky forever separate. This continued for another 18,000 years, until the heavens were immeasurably high and the earth was immeasurably thick. Finally, Pangu's great work was complete. But the effort had exhausted him, and he lay down to die. As he died, his body became the world. His breath became the wind and clouds. His voice became thunder. His left eye became the sun, his right eye the moon. His body became the mountains, his blood the rivers and seas. His muscles became the fertile soil, his hair the stars in the sky. His sweat fell as rain, and the parasites on his body became the ancestors of humanity. This is why, in Chinese tradition, humans are seen as part of the natural world rather than separate from it. We are quite literally made from the same substance as mountains and rivers, stars and storms. Pangu's sacrifice created the world, and his body continues to live in everything around us. A remarkably similar story appears in Hindu mythology, in the tale of the cosmic egg called Brahmanda. In the beginning, there was only Brahman, the absolute reality, unchanging and eternal. From Brahman emerged the cosmic waters, and upon the waters floated a golden egg, brilliant as the sun. For a year, the creator god Brahma gestated within this egg, and when he emerged, the egg split into two halves. The upper half became the sky, the lower half became the earth. Between them emerged the atmosphere, the directions of space, and the oceans. The ancient Greek Orphic tradition, a mystical strand of Greek religion, also taught that the universe began with a cosmic egg. From the swirling chaos, time itself, called Chronos, created a shining egg. When this egg hatched, out came Phanes, the first god, brilliant with light, with golden wings and multiple heads. Phanes created the other gods and set the universe in motion. In Finnish mythology, as preserved in the epic poem the Kalevala, we find another variation of the cosmic egg. The goddess Ilmater floated for 700 years upon the primordial waters, and a beautiful teal, a type of duck, came to rest upon her knee. The duck laid 6 golden eggs and 1 of iron, and when these eggs fell from Ilmater's knee and shattered, their fragments became the world. The lower shells became the earth, the upper shells the sky, the yolks the sun, the whites the moon, and the fragments became the stars. Even in far-off Polynesia, we find cosmic egg imagery. In some traditions, the supreme god Taiaroa existed alone in an egg-shaped shell in the darkness. When he broke free and emerged, he used his shell to create the world. One half becoming the dome of the sky, the other the foundation of the earth. Why is this image of the cosmic egg so widespread? Perhaps because the egg represents the most perfect symbol of potential. Within the shell, invisible from outside, a complete living being is forming, waiting for the moment of emergence. The egg is both container and contained, both the womb and the universe it will become. There is something deeply satisfying about imagining the entire cosmos as a vast egg, waiting to hatch into existence. It suggests that the universe was meant to be, that creation was not an accident but a natural unfolding, like a bird emerging from its shell. And in that image, we perhaps glimpse something of our own lives, our own potential waiting to unfold. Another universal theme in creation mythology is the emergence of order from chaos, particularly from primordial waters. Water is the source of life, shapeless yet essential, and it appears in creation stories around the world as the original substance from which all else emerged. In the Babylonian creation epic, the Enuma Elish, which dates back nearly 4,000 years, the universe begins with two primordial beings. Apsu was the freshwater abyss, the sweet underground waters that fertilized the land. Tiamat was the saltwater sea, vast and chaotic, often depicted as a great dragon or sea serpent. From the mingling of these two waters, the first gods were born. But the young gods were noisy and disruptive, and Apsu could not sleep. He plotted to destroy his offspring, but the wise god E discovered the plan and killed Apsu first. From Apsu's body E created his dwelling place, and there his son Marduk was born. Tiamat, enraged by the death of Apsu, created an army of monsters to avenge him. She fashioned serpents and dragons, fierce lions and scorpion men, and placed at their head her new consort Kingu. The terrified gods sought a champion, and young Marduk stepped forward. He agreed to fight Tiamat, but only if the other gods would make him their supreme ruler. Armed with the winds, with lightning and a great net, Marduk rode out to battle the Chaos Dragon. When Tiamat opened her vast mouth to swallow him, Marduk drove the winds down her throat, bloating her body until she could not close her jaws. Then he shot an arrow through her heart and stood upon her carcass in triumph. From Tiamat's body, Marduk created the world. He split her in two like a shellfish, using one half to form the dome of the sky and the other to form the earth. Her eyes became the sources of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and from the blood of the slain Kingu, humanity was created to serve the gods and tend the earth. This Babylonian story illustrates a pattern we find in many mythologies. Creation is not peaceful emergence but cosmic warfare. Order must triumph over chaos, but chaos never truly disappears. It remains, waiting at the edges of the world, threatening to return if the gods and their human servants do not maintain the proper rituals and observances. In Egyptian mythology, the primordial waters were called Nun, an infinite, dark ocean that existed before creation. Nun had no surface and no bottom, no beginning and no end. It was not evil, merely unconscious, pure potentiality without form or purpose. From these waters, by its own will, rose the first land, a mound called the Benban, and upon this mound appeared the creator god, known by various names in different Egyptian traditions. In the theology of Heliopolis, he was Ad-Atam, the complete one. In Hermopolis, creation emerged from 8 primordial deities, the Ogdoad, who represented the qualities of the original waters, darkness and obscurity, boundlessness and hiddenness. Odum, alone upon the first mound, brought forth the next generation of gods from himself. Some texts say he sneezed and coughed, creating the air god Shu and the moisture goddess Tefnut. Others say he brought them forth by masturbation, the creative act accomplished alone, without a partner. Shu and Tefnut then gave birth to Jeb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, who in turn became the parents of the great gods Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. Each morning, the Egyptians believed, the sun god Ra reenacted this creation, emerging from the dark waters of the underworld like the first land rising from none. Creation was not a single event in the distant past, but an ongoing process, renewed with every sunrise. And every night, when Ra descended into the underworld, the forces of chaos threatened to prevent his return. Only the proper performance of ritual ensured that creation would continue. In the Hebrew tradition, as recorded in the book of Genesis, creation also begins with waters. In the beginning, we are told, the earth was formless and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. The Hebrew word for deep here is teham, which is linguistically related to the Babylonian Tiamat. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, but unlike the Babylonian story, There is no cosmic battle in Genesis. God simply speaks, and creation obeys. Let there be light, God says, and there is light. The waters are gathered together, dry land appears, and the world takes shape through divine command alone. This represents a different theological vision, one in which God is utterly supreme, facing no opposition, creating entirely by will. Yet the waters remain in Genesis as they do in other traditions, as a symbol of the formless potential that preceded creation. And the Hebrew tradition, like others, understood that creation was not complete. The waters of chaos could return, as in the story of Noah's flood, if humanity strayed too far from divine order. In Hindu cosmology, we find the beautiful image of Vishnu, the preserver god, sleeping upon the coils of the great serpent Anantashesha, floating upon the cosmic ocean. Anantashesha means endless serpent, and this great snake represents the endless cycling of time and creation. From Vishnu's navel grows a lotus, and upon that lotus sits Brahma, who creates the world. When the universe reaches the end of its current cycle, it will dissolve back into the cosmic waters, and Vishnu will sleep again, until the time comes for a new creation. Hindu cosmology thus imagines not one creation, but an endless series of creations and destructions, universes born and dying like breaths of the sleeping god. This cyclical view is profoundly different from the linear creation of Western traditions. There is no single beginning, no ultimate end, only the eternal rhythm of manifestation and dissolution. The waters that contained the universe before creation will receive it again when this cycle ends. Let your mind drift now to another powerful theme in world creation mythology, the idea that the world came into being through sacrifice. In many traditions, creation requires not just divine power but divine death. Something or someone must be destroyed for the world to exist. We have already seen this in the Chinese story of Pangu, whose body became the world after his death. But perhaps the most striking example comes from Norse mythology, in the story of Ymir, the primordial giant. In the beginning, according to the Norse, there was no earth or sky, only a vast emptiness called Ginnungagap. To the north of this void lay Niflheim, a realm of ice and cold. To the south lay Muspelheim, a realm of fire and flame. When the cold mists of Niflheim met the hot sparks of Muspelheim in the empty void, the ice began to melt. From the dripping ice, two beings emerged. The first was Ymir, a great frost giant, the ancestor of all giants. The second was Audhumla, a cosmic cow whose milk nourished Ymir. As Audhumla licked the salty ice for sustenance, she gradually uncovered Beri, the first of the gods, who had been hidden within the ice. Beri's grandson was Odin, who would become the chief of the gods. Odin and his brothers, Vili and Vi, looked upon Ymir and decided that something must be done with the giant's massive body. They slew Ymir, and from his corpse, they fashioned the world. The giant's blood became the seas and lakes, flowing in such quantity that it drowned almost all of the other giants. His flesh became the earth, his bones the mountains, his teeth and broken bones the rocks and boulders. His skull was set up as the dome of the sky, held in place at four corners by four dwarfs, and his brains were scattered to become the clouds. From his eyebrows the gods fashioned a stronghold called Midgard, the middle realm, to protect the humans they would later create from the giants that survived. This is a violent creation, born from divine murder. The gods create through destruction, and the world itself is a kind of corpse, the transformed remains of a slain being. There is something deeply unsettling about this image, and perhaps also something honest. The Norse people lived in a harsh land where survival often required violence, where the wolf and the sword were never far away. Their creation myth reflects a world that is beautiful but also dangerous, built upon sacrifice and struggle. In Hindu tradition, we find a similar theme in the Purusha Sukta, a hymn from the Rig Veda that describes the sacrifice of Purusha, the cosmic man. Purusha was a 1,000-headed being who encompassed the entire universe. The gods performed a sacrifice, offering Purusha on the altar, and from his divided body, all of creation emerged. From his mind came the moon, from his eye the sun, from his mouth fire and the gods, Indra and Agni, from his breath the wind. From his navel came the atmosphere, from his head the heavens, from his feet the earth. And from the different parts of his body came the four classes of Hindu society, the priests from his mouth, the warriors from his arms, the merchants from his thighs, and the servants from his feet. This myth served not only as a creation story, but as a justification for the Hindu social order. The caste system was built into the very structure of the universe, present from the moment of creation. Whether one sees this as divine order or human ideology projected onto the cosmos depends on one's perspective. But the image of creation through sacrifice remains powerful. In Aztec mythology, creation required repeated sacrifice, as the gods gave their own lives to set the universe in motion. The current world, the fifth sun, came into being when the gods gathered at the ancient city of Teotihuacan to create a new sun after the destruction of the fourth world. The god Tixistacatl, proud and wealthy, volunteered to become the new sun, but when faced with the sacrificial fire, he hesitated. 4 times he approached the flames, and 4 times he drew back in fear. Meanwhile, a humble god named Nanahuatzin, poor and covered with sores, did not hesitate. He threw himself into the fire and rose as the new sun. Shamed by the humble god's bravery, Tixistacatl finally leaped into the flames as well, but because he had hesitated, he rose only as the moon, and because both celestial bodies remained motionless in the sky, the other gods realized that more sacrifice was needed. Each of them gave their lives, their hearts cut out with an obsidian knife, and with their deaths, the sun and moon began to move across the sky. This is why, the Aztecs believed, human sacrifice was necessary to keep the sun moving, to keep creation functioning. The gods had given their lives to create the world. Humanity had to continue that sacrifice, or the universe would grind to a halt. We may find such beliefs disturbing, and the historical practices they justified were indeed horrific by modern standards, but we should try to understand the logic within the mythological system. If creation itself required sacrifice, if the very existence of the sun and moon depended on the offering of hearts, then human sacrifice was not cruelty, but cosmic necessity, the price paid for continued existence. Let us turn now to gentler creation stories, tales of worlds brought into being not through violence, but through the power of word and thought alone. These myths suggest that consciousness itself is the ultimate creative force, that the universe is fundamentally mental rather than material. We have already touched on the Hebrew creation story, where God speaks the world into existence. Let there be light, and there was light. This formula, the creative word that makes reality conform to divine intention, has influenced Western thought for millennia. In the Gospel of John, this idea is taken even further. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Greek term used here is logos, which means not just word but also reason, order, and meaning. The logos is the rational principle underlying all existence, the divine intelligence that speaks the universe into being and maintains its coherent structure. Creation, in this view, is an expression of meaning, a thought made manifest. In Egyptian mythology, creation through speech was associated with Ptah, the god of craftsmen. According to the theology of Memphis, Ptah created the world by first conceiving it in his heart, which the Egyptians considered the seat of intelligence, and then speaking it into existence with his tongue. The other gods were themselves aspects of Ptah's creative thought and speech. This makes Ptah the divine craftsman, but unlike a human craftsman who works with pre-existing materials, Ptah works with pure thought. The word and the thought are one, and together they bring forth all that exists. This theology places consciousness at the foundation of reality. In Maori mythology from New Zealand, creation begins in Te-Kor, the void or nothingness, and proceeds through Te-Po, the darkness or night, before reaching Te Ao Marama, the world of light. But this progression is imagined not as physical events, but as stages of awareness, like a mind gradually coming to consciousness. The supreme god Io dwelt in the void and began to think, to remember, to stir. From his thoughts came awareness, from awareness came seeking, from seeking came knowledge, and from knowledge came the roots of the world. Creation was an awakening, a divine mind becoming conscious of itself and, in that consciousness, bringing forth the universe. The Maori poet and scholar Charles Royal has described this mythology as fundamentally about consciousness. The physical world is an expression of divine thought, a dream of the gods made tangible. And because humans share in this consciousness, we participate in the ongoing creation of reality through our own thoughts and words. In West African tradition, particularly among the Dogon people of Mali, the creator god Amma shaped the universe like a potter. But creation truly began when Amma spoke. The primal word vibrated through the universe, setting patterns into matter, giving form to chaos. The Dogon have an extraordinarily complex mythology with deep astronomical knowledge that has fascinated scholars. At its heart is the creative power of the word, the vibration that underlies all existence. The Hopi people of the American Southwest tell a creation story in which the creator Tawa, the sun spirit and spider woman, the earth goddess, sang the world into existence. First they thought the universe, then they sang it, and with each song, new aspects of creation appeared. The first world was Tupela, endless space, and through successive songs, worlds were created and destroyed until the present fourth world came into being. There is something deeply moving about the idea of the universe as song. Modern physics tells us that everything is vibration, that matter and energy are different expressions of the same underlying reality. The ancient peoples who imagined creation as divine song intuited something that science would later confirm. At the deepest level, everything is rhythm and pattern, vibration and frequency. In Hindu tradition, the creative word is Om, the primal syllable that contains all sounds and all meanings. When the universe begins, Om is the first vibration, and all subsequent creation is an elaboration of that original sound. Hindu scriptures describe the universe as composed of sound at its most fundamental level. Different sounds correspond to different aspects of reality, and by understanding and chanting these sacred sounds, humans can align themselves with the cosmic order. The Upanishads, the philosophical texts of Hindu tradition, describe Brahman, the absolute reality, as pure consciousness. The entire universe is Brahman's dream, a play of divine awareness. Individual souls are not separate from Brahman but expressions of it, waves upon an infinite ocean of consciousness. Creation is not something Brahman does but something Brahman is. These traditions point to a profound possibility, that consciousness is not a product of the universe but its foundation. The world exists because it is thought, because it is known, because awareness underlies all things. In dreamless sleep, the universe disappears for us, and in deep meditation, practitioners report experiences of pure awareness without objects, consciousness aware of itself alone. Perhaps the ancient peoples who imagined creation through thought and word were touching on something fundamental. Perhaps consciousness is not an accident of evolution, but the ground of being itself. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, your own consciousness will gradually withdraw from the external world, and in your dreams, you will create worlds of your own through the same mysterious power that the ancient myths attributed to the gods. Allow your breathing to slow and deepen as we explore another universal theme in creation mythology, the separation of sky and earth. In many traditions, the sky and earth begin as lovers, pressed together in intimate embrace, and must be forcibly separated for creation to proceed. In the Egyptian tradition, the sky goddess Nut arches over the earth god Geb in eternal embrace. But between them stands their father, the air god Shu, holding them apart. In Egyptian art, Nut is often depicted as a woman whose star-studded body curves over the earth, her fingertips and toes touching the horizon. Below her, Geb reclines, sometimes depicted with an erect phallus reaching toward his beloved, but forever separated from her. According to one version of the myth, Nut and Geb were so closely intertwined that there was no room for anything to exist between them. The creator god had to send Shu to push them apart, creating the space in which life could flourish. But the lovers never stopped longing for each other. The rain that falls from the sky is Nut's tears for her separated husband, and the storms are her children trying to reach their father. In Maori mythology, we find a very similar story. Ranginui, the sky father, and Papatuanuku, the earth mother, lay together in such tight embrace that their many children were trapped in darkness between them. These children, who would become the great gods of the Maori pantheon, debated what to do about their cramped situation. Most of the brothers agreed that their parents must be separated, but they disagreed about how. Tane, the god of forests, argued for pushing them apart. Tumatoenga, the god of war, wanted to kill them. Wero, associated with darkness and evil, wanted to leave things as they were. Eventually, Tain lay on his mother and pushed upward with his feet against his father. Slowly, with great effort, he pushed sky and earth apart. Light flooded into the world for the first time, and the children of Rangi and Papa became the gods of the new creation. But Tahir Imadia, the god of storms, was angry at the separation of his parents, and he attacks his brothers to this day, sending winds and tempests against the forests of Tain and the cultivated plants of Rongo. Rangi and Papa still long for each other. The rain that falls is Rangi weeping for his separated wife. The mists that rise from the earth in the morning are Papa's sighs rising to her beloved. And in the Maori understanding, humans stand between earth and sky, children of both, connected to both, mediating between the separated lovers. In the Greek creation story as told by Hesiod, Ouranos, the sky, and Gaia, the earth, were also intimately connected. Each night, Ouranos would descend to cover Gaia completely, and from their union came many children. But Ouranos hated his offspring and pushed them back into Gaia's womb, causing her terrible pain. Gaia fashioned a great sickle and asked her children for help. Only the youngest, Kronos, was brave enough to act. When Ouranos next descended upon Gaia, Kronos seized his father's genitals and severed them with the sickle. From the blood that fell on the earth, the Furies and the giants were born. The severed genitals, thrown into the sea, produced foam from which Aphrodite, the goddess of love, arose. This is a far more violent separation than the Egyptian or Maori versions, a castration rather than a mere pushing apart. The Greek imagination often dwelt on such dark themes, on children overthrowing fathers, on cycles of revenge and violence. Yet the fundamental pattern is the same. Sky and earth must be separated for the world to exist, and that separation carries grief and loss even as it makes life possible. In Mesopotamian tradition, as we have seen, Marduk split the body of Tiamat to create heaven and earth. But earlier Sumerian myths describe the sky, and Kai, the earth, as originally united until the air god Enlil separated them. The word for universe in Sumerian was Kai, literally sky-earth, suggesting that even in their separation, these primal beings form a unity. Why is this theme of separation so universal? Perhaps because it reflects the fundamental human experience of birth. We all begin in intimate unity with our mothers, enclosed in darkness, and we must be separated to begin our own existence. The separation is necessary, but it is also a kind of loss, a fall from primal oneness into the divided world of individual existence. The psychologist Otto Rank saw in these myths a reflection of birth trauma, the universal human experience of being expelled from the warmth and safety of the womb into the cold, bright, overwhelming world. Whether or not we consciously remember our birth, Rank argued, it shapes our psyche in profound ways. And the myths of separation may be humanity's way of processing and giving meaning to that original trauma. There is also something deeply true in these myths about the nature of existence. Life requires space. For things to exist, there must be room for them, which means separation, distinction, difference. The primordial unity of sky and earth, however beautiful, allows for nothing but itself. Only when that unity is broken can the 10,000 things, as the Chinese philosophers called them, come into being. And yet the myths also remember the unity that was lost. The sky and earth were once one. The rain and mist express their longing. Creation carries within it a memory of the wholeness that preceded it, and perhaps a hope of return. As you relax into sleep tonight, you enact in your own way this return to unity. Consciousness dissolving back into the undifferentiated ocean, from which it arose each morning. We have explored how various cultures imagined the creation of the cosmos. Now let us turn to the creation of humanity, that being who stands between gods and animals, partaking of both natures, the creature that tells the stories we are exploring tonight. In the Babylonian tradition, humans were created to serve the gods. Before humanity, the younger gods had to do all the work of maintaining the cosmos, digging irrigation channels and growing food for the older gods. They grew tired of this labor and went on strike, demanding that someone else do the work. The wise god E proposed a solution. A new creature would be made to bear the labor, from the blood of the slain god Kingu. who had led the army of Tiamat, and from clay of the earth, humans were fashioned. They were part divine, animated by the blood of a god, but also part earth, mortal and destined to return to dust. Their purpose was to serve, to maintain the temples, and offer sacrifices, so that the gods could rest. This may seem like a humble beginning for humanity, but it also carries a certain dignity. Humans were necessary to the gods. Without our service, the cosmic order would collapse. We were made from divine blood, carrying within us a spark of divinity. And in Mesopotamian wisdom literature, we find a genuine compassion for the human condition, mortal beings caught between the divine and the dust, seeking meaning in a universe not made for our benefit. In Greek mythology, there are several accounts of human creation. The most famous involves Prometheus, the titan whose name means forethought. In some versions, Prometheus shapes humans from clay and water, modeling us in the image of the gods. Athena breathes life into the clay figures, animating them with spirit. But humans were weak and helpless, shivering in the darkness without fire or skills. Prometheus loved his creations and wanted to help them. He went to Olympus and stole fire from the gods, carrying it down to earth hidden in a fennel stalk. With fire came warmth, protection from wild beasts, the ability to cook food and smelt metals. With fire came civilization. Zeus was furious at the theft. He had wanted to keep humans weak and dependent. As punishment, Prometheus was chained to a rock, where an eagle ate his liver each day, only for it to regenerate each night, so the torture could continue forever. And upon humanity, Zeus sent Pandora with her jar of troubles, releasing disease and death, and all the sorrows that afflict our kind. Yet the gift of fire could not be taken back. Despite all their sufferings, humans had the spark of divine power, the ability to transform nature and create civilization. The Prometheus myth captures the Greek ambivalence about human existence, our remarkable capabilities and our inevitable sufferings, our divine spark and our mortal flesh. In the Hebrew tradition, God forms the first human, Adam, from the dust of the ground and breathes into his nostrils the breath of life. The name Adam is related to Adama, the Hebrew word for ground or earth. We are earth creatures, but animated by divine breath, the ruach that is also spirit and wind. From Adam's rib, God forms Eve, and the two humans are placed in the Garden of Eden to tend it. The Genesis creation of humanity emphasizes both our earthly origin and our special status. We are made in the image of God, given dominion over the animals, capable of relationship with the divine. Yet we are also fragile, dependent, easily led astray. The story of the fall, which we will explore later, addresses the great mystery of human nature, how beings made in God's image could choose evil. In Norse mythology, the first humans were made from trees. Odin and his brothers, walking along the seashore after creating the world from Ymir's body, found two tree trunks, an ash and an elm. From these they fashioned Ask and Embla, the first man and woman. Odin gave them breath and life, Vili gave them consciousness and movement, V gave them faces, speech, hearing and sight. There is something beautiful in this image, humans emerging from trees, connected to the forests that would provide shelter and fuel, bound to the natural world in the most literal way. The ash tree Yggdrasil was the world tree in Norse cosmology, and humans, made from ash, were part of that great living structure that connected all the realms of existence. In many African traditions, humans emerged from the earth itself, sometimes from holes in the ground, sometimes from reed beds, sometimes from trees. The Zulu tell of how the creator Unkulankulu came from a reed and broke off humans from the reeds as well. The Yoruba believe that the creator god Olodumare sent the deity Obatala to create human bodies from clay, which Olodumare then animated with the breath of life. In Chinese tradition, the goddess Nuwa created humans from yellow clay. At first, she carefully molded each figure individually, giving it detailed features. But this was slow work, and Nuwa grew tired. So she dipped a rope in the mud and flung it about, and the droplets that fell became humans too. Some say this is why some people are beautiful and talented, molded carefully by the goddess's hands, while others are ordinary, the products of her hurried rope flinging. What all these stories share is the fundamental puzzle of human nature. We are made of earth, of clay, of dust, bound to the physical world and destined to return to it. Yet we are also animated by something more, breath or spirit or divine intention, lifted above the merely material into consciousness and creativity. We are caught between worlds, neither fully animal nor truly divine, and the myths try to explain how we came to be in this strange and wonderful situation. As you rest peacefully, let us journey to ancient Greece and meet the gods who dwelt upon Mount Olympus. These deities were remarkably human in their personalities, capable of love and jealousy, wisdom and folly, compassion and cruelty. They were not moral exemplars, but cosmic powers with very human flaws. At the head of the Olympians sat Zeus, king of the gods, ruler of the sky, wielder of the thunderbolt. Zeus had not always been king. He came to power through violence, as his father Kronos had before him. When Kronos learned that he was fated to be overthrown by his own son, he swallowed each of his children as they were born. But when Zeus was born, his mother Re hid him away and gave Kronos a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes, which the Titan swallowed without noticing the substitution. Zeus grew to maturity in secret and eventually returned to challenge his father. He gave Kronos a potion that made him regurgitate his swallowed children, and together the young gods made war against the Titans. After 10 years of cosmic battle, the Olympians were victorious. The Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus, the deepest pit of the underworld, and Zeus divided the cosmos with his brothers. He took the sky and became supreme. Poseidon received the sea, and Hades received the underworld. The earth was common to all. Zeus was a god of sky and storm, of law and order, of hospitality and oaths. He maintained cosmic justice, punishing those who violated sacred customs, protecting guests and suppliants. But Zeus was also famously unfaithful to his wife Hera, pursuing goddesses and mortal women alike, fathering countless children by various partners. These love affairs produced many of the great heroes of Greek mythology. Hera, queen of the gods, goddess of marriage and family, spent much of her mythological energy punishing Zeus's lovers and their children. She could be petty and vindictive, persecuting innocent women who had caught her husband's eye. Yet she was also a powerful goddess in her own right, protector of married women, associated with the peacock and the cow. Her anger at Zeus's infidelities reflects the real tensions of Greek married life, where men enjoyed freedoms denied to women. Poseidon ruled the sea with his trident, causing earthquakes when he struck the ground, creating horses from the waves, bringing storms and safe passage as he pleased. He was moody and vengeful, never forgetting a slight. When Odysseus blinded Poseidon's son the Cyclops, the god pursued the hero across the seas for 10 years, thwarting his every attempt to return home. Athena was the goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare, born fully armed from the head of Zeus after he swallowed her pregnant mother. She was a virgin goddess, devoted to crafts and strategy rather than love. She was the patron of Athens, the city that bore her name, and she especially favored clever heroes like Odysseus and Perseus. Her symbol was the owl, and she was often depicted with a shield bearing the head of the Gorgon Medusa. Apollo was the god of many things: music and poetry, prophecy and healing, archery and plague. He was associated with the sun, driving the chariot of light across the sky each day in some accounts. He was beautiful and talented, but also proud and sometimes cruel. His oracle at Delphi was the most sacred prophetic site in Greece, where the Pythia spoke Apollo's ambiguous words to those seeking knowledge of the future. Apollo's twin sister Artemis was the goddess of the hunt, of wild animals, of the moon and wilderness. She was a virgin goddess who punished those who threatened her chastity. The hunter Actaeon accidentally saw her bathing and was transformed into a stag, torn apart by his own hounds. She was protector of young women and children, associated with transitions in the wild places beyond civilization. Aphrodite was the goddess of love and beauty, born from the sea foam that gathered around the severed genitals of Ouranos. She was irresistible, causing gods and mortals alike to fall helplessly in love. She was married to the lame smith god Hephaestus, but famously unfaithful with the war god Ares. The sparrow and the dove were her sacred birds, and the myrtle and rose her flowers. Ares was the god of war, but not the strategic, honorable warfare of Athena. Ares represented the brutal, violent, bloodthirsty aspect of battle, The Greeks generally disliked him, though the Romans would later honor his counterpart Mars as the father of their people. Ares was cowardly despite his violence, crying out and fleeing when wounded. Hephaestus was the craftsman god, maker of divine weapons and armor, creator of automatons and wonders. He was lame, the only physically imperfect Olympian, and the myths offer various explanations for his disability. In some versions, Hera threw him from Olympus in disgust at his deformity. In others, Zeus threw him out for taking Hera's side in a quarrel. Despite his lameness, Hephaestus was a master craftsman, and his forge beneath the volcanic Mount Etna produced marvels. Hermes was the messenger god, the guide of souls to the underworld, the patron of travelers and thieves, of merchants and liars. He was clever and quick, inventing the lyre from a tortoise shell on the day of his birth, then stealing Apollo's cattle that same night. His winged sandals and cap allowed him to travel anywhere with divine speed. The Hermes, stone pillars with heads and phalluses, were placed at crossroads in his honor throughout Greece. Demeter was the goddess of grain and harvest, and her myth was intimately connected with her daughter Persephone. When Hades abducted Persephone to be his queen in the underworld, Demeter's grief caused all plants to wither and die. Only when Persephone was allowed to return for part of each year did the earth bloom again. This myth explained the seasons, and was central to the Eleusinian mysteries, secret rites that promised initiates a blessed afterlife. Dionysus was the god of wine and ecstasy, of theater and madness. He was the youngest Olympian, born from the mortal woman Semele, who was killed by Zeus's true divine radiance. Zeus rescued the unborn Dionysus and sewed him into his thigh until he was ready to be born. Dionysus brought both joy and destruction, liberating his followers from ordinary consciousness, but also driving them to frenzied violence when his worship was denied. These 12 Olympians, along with Hestia, goddess of the hearth, who sometimes gave her throne to Dionysus, ruled the Greek cosmos. But they were not all powerful. Above even the gods stood fate and necessity, the impersonal forces that determined the ultimate course of events. The gods could delay fate, could influence it at the margins, but they could not ultimately change what was destined to occur. Let us now travel south to ancient Egypt, where the gods walked the earth for thousands of years, where divine kings ruled as living gods, and where the rhythm of the Nile gave shape to the cosmic order. Egyptian religion was old beyond measure. When the Greeks were still wandering the land that would become Greece, the Egyptians had already built their pyramids, developed their hieroglyphic writing, and established elaborate rituals for their gods. By the time Egypt fell to Rome, Egyptian religion had been practiced continuously for over 3,000 years. At the top of the Egyptian pantheon stood Ra, the sun god, who sailed across the sky each day in his solar bark. Each morning Ra was born anew from the sky goddess Nut. Each evening he entered her mouth and traveled through her body, the underworld, to be reborn again at dawn. This endless cycle of death and rebirth gave structure to Egyptian understanding of existence. During his night journey through the underworld, Ra faced terrible dangers. The serpent Apophis waited to swallow him, to prevent the sunrise and plunge the world into eternal darkness. Each night, the gods aboard Ra's bark had to fight off Apophis with spells and weapons. The sunrise was not guaranteed. It was a daily victory over chaos, renewed through divine combat. Ra was not the only sun god. Khepri, depicted as a scarab beetle, represented the rising sun, rolling across the sky as a scarab rolls its ball of dung. The name Khepri relates to the Egyptian word for coming into being, for transformation and becoming. Atum, the complete one, represented the setting sun, the aged Ra descending into the underworld. These were not separate gods but aspects of the same solar power. Osiris was the god of the underworld, the judge of the dead, the lord of resurrection. His myth was the central drama of Egyptian religion. Osiris had once ruled Egypt as a good king, teaching the people agriculture and civilization. But his brother Set, god of chaos and the desert, was jealous. Set tricked Osiris into lying in a beautiful coffin, then sealed it shut and threw it into the Nile. Isis, sister and wife of Osiris, searched the world for her husband's body. When she finally found it, Set discovered her hiding place, seized Osiris's corpse, and tore it into 14 pieces, scattering them across Egypt. Isis, with her sister Nephthys, gathered the scattered pieces, and reassembled them. With her magical powers, Isis restored Osiris to life long enough to conceive a child with him. Then Osiris descended to rule the underworld as king of the dead. The child, Horus, would grow to avenge his father and claim the throne of Egypt. This myth encoded Egyptian beliefs about death and resurrection. Just as Osiris was restored after death, so too could humans hope for eternal life if proper rituals were performed. The mummification of bodies was designed to preserve them as Isis had preserved Osiris. The Book of the Dead provided spells and instructions for navigating the underworld as Osiris had done. Horus, the falcon-headed god, represented divine kingship. Each pharaoh was considered a living Horus. The legitimate ruler descended from the original divine king. When the pharaoh died, he became Osiris, and his successor became the new Horus. The myth of Osiris and Horus thus legitimized the Egyptian state, making royal succession a reenactment of cosmic drama. Set was not purely evil in Egyptian understanding, though the Greeks and later traditions would demonize him. He was the god of chaos, storms, and the desert, forces that were dangerous but also necessary. The desert protected Egypt from invaders. Storms brought rain in lands beyond the Nile. And on Ra's nightly journey, it was Set who stood at the prow of the solar bark, spearing the serpent Apophis. Chaos defended order against a greater chaos. Isis was the great goddess, mistress of magic, devoted wife and mother, protector of the dead. Her cult spread throughout the ancient world, eventually reaching Rome, where she was worshipped into the Christian era. She was often depicted nursing the infant Horus, an image that some scholars believe influenced early Christian depictions of Mary and Jesus. Thoth was the god of wisdom, writing, and the moon. He was depicted as an ibis-headed man or as a baboon. He invented hieroglyphics and kept records of the judgments in the underworld. His wisdom was available to those who sought it in the sacred texts. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, was associated with mummification and the protection of tombs. It was Anubis who weighed the hearts of the dead against the feather of Mot, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was light, unburdened by sin, the soul could proceed to eternal life. If heavy with wrongdoing, it was devoured by Ammit, the eater of hearts, and the soul ceased to exist. Mot herself was not just a goddess but a cosmic principle. Mot was truth, justice, harmony, the proper order of things. The pharaoh's sacred duty was to maintain Mot, to keep chaos at bay, and ensure that the world functioned as it should. Mot was depicted as a woman with an ostrich feather on her head, and this feather was the standard against which souls were judged. Egyptian religion was extraordinarily complex, with local traditions, merging deities, and evolving theologies. Over 3,000 years, gods rose and fell in prominence, merged with each other, acquired new aspects and meanings. But throughout, the fundamental themes remained: the cycle of life and death, the struggle of order against chaos, the promise of eternal life for those who lived in accordance with Mot. As we conclude this first part of our journey through world mythology, let the stories we have encountered settle gently into your awareness. We have witnessed creation itself, the emergence of something from nothing, the cosmic egg hatching into existence, the separation of sky and earth, the sacrifice that brings worlds into being. We have met the gods of Olympus and the Nile, divine beings with human personalities, powers beyond measure, yet passions we recognize in ourselves. These stories are not merely entertainment, though they are entertaining. They are the dreams of our ancestors, their attempts to make sense of a universe that often makes no sense at all. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why must we die? Why do we suffer? The myths offer answers, not final answers, not scientific answers, but answers that speak to the heart and imagination. As you drift deeper into rest, you may find these ancient images appearing in your own dreams. The cosmic egg waiting to hatch. The lovers sky and earth, separated but longing. The gods in their palaces, all too human despite their power. These are the images that have shaped human consciousness for millennia, and they live still in the depths of the mind. In part 2 of our journey, we shall meet more gods and explore more creation stories. We shall venture to India and encounter the vast pantheon of Hindu deities. We shall travel north to the frozen lands of the Norse and meet Odin and Thor. We shall visit Africa and the Americas, Mesopotamia and the Pacific Islands. The stories continue, endless as the human imagination, timeless as the stars. Rest now, and let the first waves of sleep wash over you. The journey continues, but there is no hurry. These stories have waited thousands of years. They will wait a little longer while you rest. Welcome back, dear listener, to our continuing journey through the myths of the world. If you are just joining us, we have been exploring the creation stories and divine beings that shaped human imagination across cultures and millennia. If you have been resting, drifting in and out of awareness, there is no need to catch up. These stories flow together like rivers joining the sea, each one complete in itself, yet part of a greater whole. In this second part of our journey, we shall venture to new lands and meet new gods. We shall explore the rich tapestry of Hindu mythology, with its vast cycles of creation and destruction. We shall travel to the frozen north and encounter the fierce gods of the Norse. We shall visit the civilizations of the Americas and hear stories that evolved entirely independently from those of the old world yet speak to the same human longings. The night is deep, and the stories are many. Let us continue. Among all the world's mythological traditions, few can match the vastness and complexity of Hindu mythology. Where other traditions measure time in hundreds or thousands of years, Hindu cosmology speaks in billions, cycles within cycles, universes within universes, stretching toward infinity in all directions. At the foundation of Hindu thought lies Brahman, the ultimate reality, unchanging and eternal, beyond all names and forms. Brahman is not a god in the Western sense but the ground of all being, the consciousness that underlies all existence. Everything that exists is Brahman, appearing in different forms, like waves upon an infinite ocean. From Brahman emerge the great gods who create, preserve, and destroy the universe. This divine trinity, the Trimurti, consists of Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer. Though they appear as separate beings, they are ultimately aspects of the same divine reality. Brahma, not to be confused with Brahman, is the creator god who brings each universe into being. He is typically depicted with 4 heads, representing the 4 Vedas, the sacred scriptures, and 4 arms. According to myth, Brahma originally had 5 heads, but Shiva destroyed one in a dispute. Brahma is associated with the lotus that grows from Vishnu's navel, and he is often shown seated upon this flower. Despite his importance as creator, Brahma is curiously the least worshipped of the great gods. Some myths explain this as punishment for a lie he once told. Vishnu and Shiva were arguing about who was greater, and they agreed to honor whoever could find the end of a great pillar of light that suddenly appeared before them. Vishnu took the form of a boar and dug downward, while Brahma took the form of a swan and flew upward. Neither could find the end, for the pillar was the infinite Shiva himself. But Brahma lied, claiming to have reached the top, and for this falsehood, he was cursed never to be widely worshipped. Vishnu is the preserver, the god who maintains the cosmic order and intervenes when dharma, the righteous law, is threatened. He is a benevolent deity, associated with mercy and the protection of the good. His consort is Lakshmi, goddess of fortune and beauty. The most distinctive aspect of Vishnu's mythology is his avatars, his incarnations in earthly form. When the world is threatened by demons or when righteousness declines, Vishnu takes birth on earth to restore balance. 10 avatars are traditionally enumerated, though the number varies in different sources. The first avatar was Matsya, the fish. When a great flood threatened to destroy all life, Vishnu appeared as a fish to warn the sage Manu and guide his boat to safety, preserving the seeds of life for a new creation. The second avatar was Kurma, the tortoise. When the gods and demons churned the cosmic ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, Mount Mandara was used as the churning rod. But the mountain began to sink. Vishnu took the form of a giant tortoise and supported the mountain on his back, allowing the churning to continue. The third avatar was Varaha the boar. The demon Hiranyaksha had dragged the earth to the bottom of the cosmic ocean. Vishnu became a boar, dived into the depths, slew the demon, and lifted the earth to safety on his tusks. The fourth avatar was Narasimha, the man-lion. The demon Hiranyakashipu had obtained a boon that he could not be killed by man or beast, indoors or outdoors, by day or by night. He persecuted his own son Prahlada, a devotee of Vishnu. Vishnu appeared at twilight, neither day nor night, on the threshold of a door, neither indoors nor outdoors, in the form of a being half man and half lion, neither man nor beast, and tore the demon apart. The fifth avatar was Vamana, the dwarf. The demon king Bali had conquered the three worlds. Vishnu appeared as a small Brahmin and asked Bali for only as much land as he could cover in 3 steps. When Bali agreed, Vamana grew to cosmic size. His first step covered the earth, his second the heavens. For his third step, Bali offered his own head, and Vishnu pushed him down to the underworld. The sixth avatar was Parashurama, Rama with the axe. He was born to destroy the warrior caste that had become corrupt and tyrannical, and he killed all the warriors on earth 21 times. The seventh avatar was Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, hero of the great epic the Ramayana. Rama is the model of dharmic kingship, righteousness incarnate. His story, which we shall explore later, involves his exile, his wife Sita's abduction by the demon king Ravana, and the great war to rescue her. The eighth avatar was Krishna, perhaps the most beloved of all Hindu deities. Krishna is the divine child who steals butter and plays pranks, the beautiful youth who dances with the cowgirls, the wise teacher who instructs Arjuna on the battlefield in the Bhagavad Gita. His mythology is vast and varied, combining elements of the divine child, the romantic hero, and the transcendent god. The ninth avatar was the Buddha, an interesting incorporation of the historical founder of Buddhism into the Hindu framework. Some accounts say Vishnu became the Buddha to teach compassion, while others suggest a more ambivalent motive, leading demons astray with false teachings so they could be more easily defeated. The 10th avatar, Kalki, has not yet appeared. He will come at the end of the current age, riding a white horse, sword in hand, to destroy the wicked and restore righteousness, beginning a new golden age. This doctrine of avatars is one of Hinduism's most distinctive features. It allows the tradition to incorporate new teachings and teachers, to adapt to changing times while maintaining continuity with the past. The avatar concept suggests that divine truth can appear in many forms, each appropriate to its time and circumstances. Shiva, the third member of the Trimurti, is the destroyer, though this title is somewhat misleading. Shiva destroys in order to make way for new creation. He destroys illusion to reveal truth. His destruction is a form of grace. He is worshipped by millions as the supreme god, the source of all that exists. Shiva is a god of contradictions. He is the great ascetic, meditating for eons on Mount Kailash, covered in ash, his matted hair piled high on his head. Yet he is also the passionate lover of his consort Parvati, and their cosmic lovemaking shakes the universe. He is the peaceful yogi, deep in meditation. Yet he is also Nataraja, the lord of the dance, whose cosmic dance both creates and destroys the universe. The iconography of Shiva is rich with meaning. The Ganges River flows from his hair, having been caught by his locks when it fell from heaven to prevent its force from destroying the earth. The crescent moon in his hair represents the cyclical nature of time. The third eye on his forehead can reduce the entire universe to ash when opened. The serpent around his neck represents the Kundalini energy that rises through the chakras in yogic practice. His trident represents the 3 fundamental qualities of nature. One of the most famous images of Shiva is the lingam, a cylindrical stone that represents his creative power. The lingam is found in temples throughout India and is one of the most common objects of worship in the Hindu tradition. Though sometimes interpreted sexually, it more broadly represents the formless Brahman taking form, the abstract becoming concrete. Parvati, Shiva's consort, is the reincarnation of Sati, who killed herself when her father insulted Shiva. Parvati performed great austerities to win Shiva's attention and eventually became his wife. She represents devotion and the divine feminine. Together, they have 2 sons, Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, and Kartika, the war god. Ganesha is one of the most popular Hindu deities, the remover of obstacles, the god of beginnings, the patron of arts and sciences. He is depicted with an elephant head, which various myths explain differently. In one popular version, Parvati created him from the dirt of her body to guard her while she bathed. When Shiva returned and was stopped by the boy he did not recognize, he cut off the boy's head in anger. To console the grieving Parvati, Shiva replaced the head with that of the first creature he found, an elephant. Ganesha is invoked at the beginning of any new enterprise, and his image is seen throughout India, in homes and businesses, temples and vehicles. Hindu mythology also features great goddesses, who are not merely consorts but powerful deities in their own right. Durga is the warrior goddess, riding a lion into battle against the demons that the male gods could not defeat. She is often depicted with many arms, each holding a weapon given to her by the other gods. The story of Durga's greatest battle involves the buffalo demon Mahishasura. This demon had received a boon that he could not be killed by any god, man, or demon. He conquered the heavens and drove out the gods. The gods combined their powers to create Durga, a goddess so powerful that she exceeded them all. She rode to battle on a lion and fought Mahishasura through many forms until finally, as he tried to escape in the form of a buffalo, she beheaded him with her sword. Kali is an even fiercer form of the divine feminine, the goddess of time and death, often depicted with black skin, a necklace of severed heads, and a girdle of severed arms. She dances on the body of Shiva, her tongue hanging out, blood dripping from her lips. Yet despite this terrifying appearance, Kali is worshipped with great devotion as the loving mother who destroys demons and protects her children. Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge, music, and the arts. She is depicted as beautiful and serene, dressed in white, holding a book and a veena, a stringed instrument. She rides on a swan, which represents the ability to discern truth from falsehood, as the swan was believed able to separate milk from water. Time itself is divine in Hindu cosmology. The universe passes through great cycles called kalpas, each lasting 4.32 billion years. Each kalpa is one day of Brahma, the creator. At the end of each day, the universe dissolves, only to be recreated when Brahma wakes. Brahma's lifespan is 100 of his years, which works out to 311 trillion human years. When Brahma dies, everything returns to Brahman, until a new Brahma emerges to begin the cycle again. Within each kalpa are smaller cycles called yugas, 4 ages that repeat in sequence. The first is the Seshya Yuga, the age of truth, when Dharma stands on all 4 legs like a bull, and humanity lives in virtue and happiness. Then comes the Treta Yuga, when Dharma has only 3 legs, and virtue begins to decline. The Dvapara Yuga sees further decline, with Dharma on only 2 legs. Finally comes the Kali Yuga, the current age, when Dharma balances precariously on 1 leg, and darkness, strife, and spiritual poverty prevail. This cyclical view of time is profoundly different from the Western sense of linear history moving toward a goal. In Hindu thought, there is no ultimate endpoint, no final apocalypse after which everything is different. The cycles continue eternally, creation and destruction, golden ages and dark ages, without beginning or end. The individual soul, too, cycles through countless lifetimes until it finally achieves liberation and returns to the source. Let us travel now from the warmth of India to the frozen north, to the world of the Vikings, where the gods were warriors and the end of the world was always near. Norse mythology developed among the Germanic peoples of Scandinavia, reaching its fullest expression during the Viking Age, roughly 793 to 1066 CE. Our knowledge of this mythology comes primarily from 2 Icelandic texts, the Poetic Edda, a collection of poems preserved in a 13th century manuscript, and the Prose Edda, written by the Icelandic scholar Snorri Sturluson around 1220. By this time, Iceland had been Christian for over 200 years, so these texts represent a Christian author recording, and perhaps shaping, pagan traditions. The Norse cosmos was structured around the great ash tree Yggdrasil, which connected all the worlds. Yggdrasil's name is often interpreted as Odin's horse, a reference to the myth in which Odin hanged himself from this tree as a sacrifice to gain wisdom. The tree is eternally green, nourished by 3 wells at its roots. 9 worlds were arrayed upon or around Yggdrasil. At the top was Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, connected to Midgard, the human world, by the rainbow bridge Bifrost. Midgard was surrounded by a vast ocean, in which dwelt Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, so large that it encircled the entire world and bit its own tail. Below or around Midgard lay other realms. Jotunheim was the land of the giants, the ancient enemies of the gods. Niflheim was the realm of ice and cold, Muspelheim the realm of fire. Svartalfheim was home to the dwarfs, master craftsmen who forged the treasures of the gods. Alfheim was the land of the light elves, Nidavellir the dark elves, and Hel the realm of the dead, ruled by the goddess of the same name. Odin was the chief of the gods, the All-Father, yet he was quite different from chief gods in other traditions. Odin was not primarily a god of law and order like Zeus. He was a god of wisdom, of poetry, of magic, of war and death. He was a seeker of hidden knowledge, willing to sacrifice anything for wisdom. The most famous myth about Odin concerns how he gained wisdom. He went to the well of Mimir, which lay beneath one of Yggdrasil's roots, and asked for a drink. But Mimir demanded a price, Odin's eye. Without hesitation, Odin plucked out his eye and gave it to Mimir, receiving in exchange a drink from the well of wisdom. This is why Odin is always depicted with one eye. But Odin wanted more. He hung himself from Yggdrasil, pierced by his own spear, a sacrifice of himself to himself. For 9 nights he hung there, without food or water, peering into the depths. At the end of this ordeal, he glimpsed the runes, the magical symbols that were the keys to wisdom and power. Screaming, he grasped them, and they became his. Odin traveled the worlds in disguise, an old man with a wide-brimmed hat and a staff, seeking knowledge wherever it could be found. He had 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, Thought and Memory, who flew throughout the worlds each day and returned to whisper news in his ear. He had 2 wolves, Jerry and Freki, and an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. Odin chose which warriors would die in battle and brought the worthy ones to Valhalla, his great hall, where they would feast and fight until Ragnarok, the final battle. The Valkyries, divine female warriors, rode to battlefields to select the slain and carry them to Valhalla. A warrior's highest honor was to die sword in hand and be taken to feast with Odin. Yet despite his power, Odin knew that Ragnarok was coming, that the gods would fall. He gathered his warriors not because he expected to win, but because it was right to fight against the darkness, even in a losing cause. This fatalistic courage is perhaps the most distinctive aspect of Norse mythology. Thor was the most popular of the Norse gods, the mighty thunder god, protector of Asgard and humanity. He was Odin's son, a straightforward warrior god in contrast to his father's complexity. Thor's weapon was the hammer Mimjalnir, forged by dwarfs, which returned to his hand after being thrown and could smash mountains. Thor's great enemy was Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent. The two were fated to kill each other at Ragnarok. In one famous myth, Thor went fishing with the giant Hymir, using an ox head as bait. Jormungandr took the bait, and Thor began to pull the serpent from the sea. The boat began to sink under the weight, and just as Thor raised his hammer to strike, Hymir cut the line in terror, and the serpent sank back into the depths. Thor had a wife, Sif, famous for her golden hair. When Loki cut off Sif's hair as a prank, Thor threatened to break every bone in his body unless he fixed it. Loki went to the dwarfs and persuaded them to craft new hair of real gold that would grow like natural hair. While he was at it, he obtained other treasures, including Odin's spear Gungnir and the ship Skidbladnir, which could fold to fit in a pocket yet hold all the gods. Loki is one of the most complex figures in Norse mythology. He was not one of the Aesir by birth, but a giant's son who became Odin's blood brother. He was a trickster, a shape-shifter, a being of mischief and chaos. Some of his tricks were harmless or even helpful to the gods. Others were malicious, and in the end, he would betray the gods entirely. Loki's children were monstrous. By the giantess Angerboda, he fathered Fenrir the wolf, Jormungandr the serpent, and Hel, the half-dead goddess of the underworld. The gods, learning of a prophecy that these children would bring them doom, took action. They threw Jormungandr into the ocean, where he grew to encircle the world. They sent Hel to rule the dead in Niflheim. Fenrir they tried to bind. The binding of Fenrir is a famous story. The wolf was growing at an alarming rate, and the gods feared to let him roam free. They challenged him to a contest of strength, to see if he could break their chains. Twice they bound him with ever stronger chains, and twice he broke free easily. Then the dwarfs crafted Gleipnir, a ribbon that looked flimsy but was made from impossible things. The sound of a cat's footstep, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the breath of a fish. Fenrir suspected a trick and agreed to be bound only if one of the gods placed a hand in his mouth as a pledge. Only Tyr, the god of war and justice, was brave enough to do so. When Fenrir found he could not break Gleipnir, he bit off Tyr's hand. The wolf was chained to a rock with a sword propped in his jaws to keep them open, drool flowing from his mouth to form a river. There he waits until Ragnarok, when he will break free and devour Odin. The death of Baldur is perhaps the most poignant Norse myth. Baldur was the most beautiful and beloved of the gods, Odin's son, whose death would signal the approach of Ragnarok. His mother Frigg went to everything in the world and obtained a promise not to harm her son. But she overlooked the mistletoe, thinking it too young and weak to matter. Loki discovered this and made a dart of mistletoe, at a gathering where the gods were amusing themselves by throwing things at the invulnerable Baldur. Loki approached the blind god Hod and offered to help him participate. He placed the mistletoe dart in Hod's hand and guided his aim. The dart pierced Baldur's heart, and the most beloved of the gods fell dead. The gods were devastated. Odin sent Hermod to Hel to negotiate for Baldur's return. Hel agreed to release him if every being in the world would weep for him. All wept, gods and humans, animals and plants, until only one giantess, actually Loki in disguise, refused. Baldur remained in Hel. For this crime, Loki was finally punished. The gods bound him in a cave with the entrails of his own son, a serpent dripping venom onto his face. His wife Sigyn stands by him, holding a bowl to catch the venom, but when she turns away to empty the bowl, the drops fall on Loki's face and he writhes in agony, causing earthquakes. There he remains until Ragnarok. Ragnarok, the doom of the gods, is the ultimate destination of Norse mythology. It will begin with Fimbul winter, 3 successive winters with no summer between. Wars will rage across the world. Brothers will kill brothers. All bonds will break. The wolf's skull will swallow the sun, his brother Hati the moon. Fenrir will break free from his chains. Jormungandr will rise from the sea, spewing poison. Loki will escape his bonds and sail to battle on a ship made of dead men's fingernails. The fire giants of Muspelheim will ride forth, led by Surt with his flaming sword. The giants will cross Bifrost, shattering the Rainbow Bridge. The final battle will be fought on the plain of Vigrid. Odin will fight Fenrir and be swallowed. Thor will kill Jormungandr but die from its poison after walking 9 steps. Freyr will fall before Surt. Tyr and the hound Garm will kill each other. Heimdall and Loki will slay each other. At last, Surt will throw his fire across the worlds, and the cosmos will burn. The earth will sink into the sea. The stars will vanish from the sky. And for a time there will be nothing. But then, in some versions, the earth will rise again from the waters, green and beautiful. A new sun will shine, born of the old sun before she was swallowed. Baldur will return from Hel. A human couple, having hidden in the trunk of Yggdrasil, will emerge to repopulate the world. And the cycle will begin again. This is a mythology that takes death seriously. The gods are not immortal. The universe is not eternal. Everything ends, including the gods themselves. Yet the Norse did not see this as cause for despair. Odin gathered his warriors knowing they would lose. The gods lived and loved and fought knowing that Ragnarok was coming. The courage to face inevitable doom with dignity, to fight against the darkness even without hope of victory, was the highest virtue. Let us cross the Atlantic now to the civilizations of Mesoamerica, where pyramids rose from the jungle and gods demanded blood to keep the cosmos in motion. The civilizations of Mesoamerica, including the Olmec, Maya, Aztec, and many others, developed sophisticated mythologies that evolved over thousands of years. Though European conquest and conversion destroyed much of the written record, enough survives to give us a glimpse of these complex belief systems. The Maya civilization flourished in what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, reaching its classical height between 250 and 900 CE. Maya mythology is preserved in texts like the Popol Vuh, the Book of Council, written down in the Latin alphabet after the Spanish conquest by Maya who wanted to preserve their traditions. According to the Popol Vuh, in the beginning there was only the sea beneath the sky, quiet and still. The creator gods, Heart of Sky and the plumed serpent, spoke together, and as they spoke, the earth took form. Mountains rose from the waters, and plants covered the land. The gods then created animals, but the animals could not speak or worship their creators. So the gods tried to make humans. Their first attempt, from mud, fell apart when wet. Their second attempt, from wood, produced beings that could walk and talk but had no souls, no minds, no memory of their creators. These wooden people were destroyed in a great flood, and their descendants became the monkeys of the forest. Finally, the gods succeeded. They made humans from maize, the sacred corn that was the staple of Maya civilization. These maize people could think and speak, could remember and worship. They were perhaps too perfect. They could see as far as the gods themselves. So the gods breathed mist into their eyes, limiting their vision to what was near. These were the first true humans, the ancestors of the Maya people. The Maya cosmos had 3 levels: the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The underworld, called Xibalba, was ruled by the Death Lords, malevolent beings who delighted in human suffering. The Popolva tells of the hero twins Hunapu and Xbalank, who descended to Xibalba to avenge their father and uncle, who had been killed by the Death Lords. The Death Lords challenged the twins to a series of tests. They had to survive houses of darkness, cold, jaguars, bats, and knives. Through cleverness and magic, the twins passed each test. They allowed themselves to be killed and ground to dust, then thrown in the river. They returned as traveling entertainers, performing miracles like sacrificing each other and bringing the other back to life. The Death Lords were so impressed they demanded to experience death and resurrection themselves. The twins obliged, killing the Death Lords, but they did not bring them back. With the Death Lords defeated, the twins rose into the sky to become the sun and moon. This myth contains themes found throughout Mesoamerican religion. The ball game: the father and uncle were killed after being challenged to a ball game. The descent to the underworld, sacrifice and resurrection, and the close relationship between humans and the cosmos. The Maya ball game was not mere sport, but ritual reenactment of cosmic struggle. The Aztec civilization, which dominated central Mexico at the time of Spanish contact, had an extraordinarily complex mythology centered on sacrifice and cosmic cycles. We have already mentioned the creation of the 5th sun through the self-sacrifice of the gods. The Aztecs believed they lived in a cosmos sustained by blood. Huitzilopochtli was the Aztec patron god, a sun and war deity who guided the Aztecs during their long migration to found their capital Tenochtitlan. According to legend, Huitzilopochtli was born fully armed when his mother Coatlicue was killed by her other children, who were jealous that she had become pregnant from a ball of feathers. Huitzilopochtli emerged from her womb and slaughtered his siblings. This myth encoded the daily battle of the sun against the forces of darkness. Each morning, Huitzilopochtli was born anew and had to fight his way across the sky against the stars and moon. He needed strength for this battle, and that strength came from human blood and hearts. Without sacrifice, the sun would falter and the world would end. Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, was an ancient deity worshipped throughout Mesoamerica under various names. He was associated with wind, knowledge, and the planet Venus. In Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl and his dark twin Tezcatlipoca had worked together to create the current world, though their relationship was often antagonistic. One of the most famous myths about Quetzalcoatl concerns his time as the priest-king of the Toltec city of Chola. Tezcatlipoca tricked him into drunkenness and committing incest with his sister. Ashamed, Quetzalcoatl went into exile, sailing east on a raft of serpents, promising to return. Some accounts suggest this myth influenced the initial Aztec response to Cortés, though this interpretation is debated by scholars. Tlaloc was the rain god, ancient and widely worshipped. Children were sacrificed to him, their tears believed to bring rain. His paradise, Tlalocan, received those who died by drowning or lightning, a green and pleasant land of eternal spring. Mictlantecutli ruled Mictlan, the land of the dead, the lowest of the 9 underworlds. The dead had to journey for 4 years through these underworlds, facing trials and challenges before reaching Mictlan and final rest. Mictlantecutli was depicted as a skeleton with bloody spots, wearing an owl feather headdress. The Aztec calendar was a complex system combining a 365-day solar year with a 260-day ritual cycle. Every 52 years, these cycles aligned, a moment of great danger when the world might end. On that night, all fires were extinguished and the people waited in darkness. Priests climbed a mountain and, at midnight, sacrificed a victim on whose chest a new fire was kindled. If the fire caught, runners carried it to every temple, and from the temples to every home. The world was safe for another 52 years. This cycle of creation, destruction, and renewal was fundamental to Mesoamerican thought. The world had been created and destroyed 4 times already. The current 5th world was also destined to end, destroyed by earthquakes. The only uncertainty was when, and whether human effort could delay the inevitable. The continent of Africa is vast and diverse, home to thousands of cultures and languages, each with its own traditions. African mythology is not one thing but many, a tapestry as varied as the continent itself. Yet certain themes recur, revealing shared human concerns. The Yoruba people of West Africa, primarily in modern Nigeria and Benin, developed a sophisticated religious system that would spread, through the slave trade, to the Americas, where it became the foundation of traditions like Santeria, Candomblé, and Vodou. In Yoruba mythology, the supreme god is Olajumer, also called Olorun, the owner of heaven. Olajumer is the source of all existence, but too vast and remote for direct worship. Instead, the Yoruba worship the Orishas, divine beings who serve as intermediaries between humans and the supreme god. Obatala is the Orisha of creation, the artist who molds human bodies from clay. Olajumer gave Obatala the task of creating land from the primordial waters. Obatala descended from heaven on a chain, carrying a calabash of sand, a palm nut, and a 5-toed hen. He poured the sand on the water and set the hen to scratch it, spreading the sand to form land. The palm nut grew into a tree, and from Life, the sacred city, all the earth spread out. Obatala then began to mold human figures from clay. But he grew thirsty and drank palm wine until he became drunk. In his intoxication, he made imperfect figures, humans with disabilities and deformities. This is why Obatala is the patron of those with physical differences, and why palm wine is forbidden to his worshippers. Ogun is the Orisha of iron, of war and labor, of civilization itself. He was the first to clear a path through the primordial forest, making way for the other Orishas to descend to earth. He is worshipped by blacksmiths, warriors, surgeons, and anyone who works with metal. In the modern era, he has become associated with automobiles and technology. Shango was once a king of the ancient Oyo kingdom, who became an Orisha after death. He is the god of thunder and lightning, a powerful and sometimes temperamental deity associated with drumming and dance. His symbol is the double-headed axe. Yemoja is the mother Orisha, goddess of the ocean and of motherhood. She is the mother of many other Orishas and is associated with the Ogun River in Nigeria. In the Americas, she became Yemaya, a central figure in Afro-Caribbean religions, protector of pregnant women and children. Oshun is the Orisha of fresh water, of beauty, love, and fertility. She is associated with the ocean river and is known for her sensuality and her connection to the arts. She is also a powerful figure in her own right, having once saved the world when the male Orisha's plans failed. Eshu, sometimes called a Legua, is the trickster Orisha, the guardian of crossroads and doorways, the messenger between humans and gods. No ritual can begin without first honoring Eshu, for without him, messages cannot reach the Orishas. He is both benevolent and mischievous, teaching through confusion and chaos. The Yoruba religious system includes divination through the Ife oracle, a complex system of 256 figures, each associated with stories, proverbs, and sacrificial prescriptions. A trained priest, the Babalawo, interprets the oracle to diagnose problems and prescribe solutions. This tradition represents one of the most sophisticated divination systems in the world. Elsewhere in Africa, other traditions developed. The Zulu of South Africa tell of Unkulunkulu, the first being who emerged from a reed bed and created humans by breaking them off from reeds. He also created animals, water, and all things. Death came to humanity through a message gone wrong. Unkulunkulu sent the chameleon to tell humans they would live forever, but the slow chameleon dawdled, and a lizard overtook him with the message of death. The Dogon of Mali have an extraordinarily complex mythology centered on the creator Amma and the creation of the world through divine words and gestures. According to Dogon tradition, Amma created the earth as a woman, then united with her to produce the first beings. The Dogon cosmology includes sophisticated astronomical knowledge that has fascinated researchers. The Fawn people of Benin tell of Mawu Lisa, a dual creator deity combining female and male principles. Mawu is the moon, associated with night, fertility, and rest. Lisa is the sun, associated with day, strength, and labor. Together they created the world and delegated its maintenance to their children, the Vadun, spirits who control various aspects of existence. Among the Akan peoples of Ghana, there is the supreme god Nyame, too great for direct worship, and a pantheon of lesser gods called Abosom. The famous Anant stories feature a spider trickster who outwits larger and more powerful beings through cleverness. Anants brought stories to humanity and is credited with spreading wisdom throughout the world. These African traditions share certain features, despite their diversity. There is typically a high god, remote and supreme. There are intermediary spirits who interact more directly with humans. Ancestors are important and must be honored. Divination and sacrifice are means of communication with the divine, and the natural world is alive with spiritual power. When Africans were forcibly transported to the Americas, they brought these traditions with them. Under slavery, African religions mixed with Catholicism and indigenous American traditions, producing new syntheses like Haitian Vodou, Cuban Santeria, and Brazilian Candomblé. The Orishas were identified with Catholic saints, allowing worship to continue under the guise of Christianity. Today, these traditions have millions of followers worldwide. Let us journey now to the ancient Near East, to the lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where writing was invented and some of the oldest recorded myths were preserved on clay tablets. Mesopotamian civilization developed in what is now Iraq, beginning with the Sumerians around 4000 BCE. The Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians would follow, each adapting and expanding the myths of their predecessors. We have already encountered Tiamat and Marduk in the Babylonian creation epic. But the Sumerian tradition that preceded it had its own pantheon and stories. Anu was the sky god, king of the gods in the earlier tradition. Enlil was the god of wind and storm, who would later be superseded by Marduk. Enki, called E by the Babylonians, was the god of wisdom, magic, and fresh water. The goddess Inanna, later known as Ishtar, was one of the most important and complex Mesopotamian deities. She was the goddess of love and war, of fertility and death, a being of tremendous power and violent passion. Her cult center was the city of Uruk, one of the world's first cities. The most famous myth about Inanna is her descent to the underworld. Inanna decided to visit her sister Ereshkigal, queen of the dead. Before leaving, she instructed her servant Ninshubur to seek help if she did not return. At each of the 7 gates of the underworld, Inanna was required to remove an item of her clothing and jewelry, the symbols of her power. When she finally stood before Ereshkigal, she was naked and powerless. The judges of the underworld struck her dead, and her corpse was hung on a hook. When Inanna did not return, Ninshubur sought help from the gods. Enki agreed to help and created 2 beings from the dirt under his fingernails. These beings slipped into the underworld and brought Inanna back to life with the food and water of life. But the rules of the underworld demanded a substitute. Demons accompanied Inanna back to the world of the living to claim someone in her place. She refused to give up those who had mourned her, but found her husband Dumuzi sitting on her throne unmourning. In anger, she handed him over to the demons. Later, Dumuzi's sister agreed to take his place for half the year, explaining the cycle of seasons. This myth of descent, death, and return influenced later traditions, including the Greek myth of Persephone. It speaks to the universal mystery of seasonal change, the apparent death of vegetation in winter, and its return in spring. The Epic of Gilgamesh is perhaps the oldest great work of literature, telling the story of the king of Uruk and his quest for immortality. We will explore this epic in detail in our section on heroes, but it belongs in any discussion of Mesopotamian mythology, for it grapples with the most fundamental human question: why must we die? Persian mythology developed in Iran and gave rise to Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. Zoroaster, or Zarathustra, was a prophet who lived perhaps around 1000 BCE, though dates vary widely. He taught that there was one supreme god, Ahura Mazda, the wise Lord, who was engaged in a cosmic struggle against Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit. This dualistic vision, the battle between good and evil, light and darkness, would influence Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Zoroastrianism introduced concepts like heaven and hell, a future resurrection, and a final judgment that became central to Western religious thought. Ahura Mazda was assisted by the Amesha Spentas, the bounteous immortals, divine beings who embodied aspects of the good creation. Against them stood the Devas, malevolent spirits who served Angra Mainyu. The world was a battleground in this cosmic war, and humans were called to choose sides. Zoroastrian mythology described history as moving toward a goal. At the end of time, Angra Mainyu would be defeated, the dead would be resurrected, and the world would be purified by molten metal, which would feel like warm milk to the righteous, but would burn the wicked. Then would come the making wonderful, the renovation of creation, when all would be as Ahura Mazda originally intended. This linear, goal-directed view of history was quite different from the cyclical views of India or Egypt. It would become the dominant Western model, the sense that history is going somewhere, that there will be an end to the story. Fire was sacred to the Zoroastrians, representing the presence of Ahura Mazda. Fire temples maintained eternal flames, and worship was conducted in their light. The dead were not buried or burned, for this would pollute earth or fire, but were exposed on towers of silence, where vultures consumed their flesh. Persian mythology also included elaborate angelology and demonology that would influence later traditions. The Izatas were divine beings worthy of worship, including Mithra, the god of contracts and light, and Anahita, goddess of waters and fertility. Mithra's cult would spread throughout the Roman Empire, becoming a major mystery religion, before being supplanted by Christianity. As we conclude this second part of our journey, we have traveled far and met many gods. In India, we encountered the vast cycles of Hindu cosmology, worlds being born and destroyed like the breaths of sleeping Vishnu. We met Shiva dancing the universe into and out of existence, Durga riding into battle against demons, Krishna teaching wisdom on the battlefield. In the frozen north, we heard of Odin sacrificing his eye for wisdom, of Thor battling the Midgard serpent, of the coming doom of Ragnarok when even the gods will fall. We learned that courage matters even when defeat is certain. In Mesoamerica, we witnessed the hero twins descending to the underworld, the gods sacrificing themselves to create the sun, the endless exchange of blood that kept the cosmos in motion. In Africa, we encountered the Orishas, divine intermediaries between the supreme god and humanity, tricksters and warriors, lovers and mothers, spirits who crossed the ocean with enslaved people and live still in the Americas. In Mesopotamia and Persia, we found Inanna descending to the realm of death, Gilgamesh seeking immortality, Ahura Mazda battling the forces of darkness toward a final victory of good over evil. These divine beings are different in countless ways, shaped by the cultures that imagined them. Yet they address the same fundamental questions. Why is there suffering? What happens when we die? How should we live? Is there meaning in the cosmos, or are we alone? Rest now, and let these divine presences accompany you into sleep. In part 3, we will turn from the gods to the heroes, those exceptional mortals who ventured beyond ordinary human limits and returned transformed to share what they had learned. The night continues, and the stories deepen. Welcome back, dear listener, as we continue our exploration of world mythology. We have spent time with the gods, those vast powers who created and maintain the cosmos. Now we turn to the heroes, those exceptional human beings, or sometimes beings who are part divine and part human, who ventured beyond the boundaries of ordinary existence and returned to tell the tale. The hero myth is one of the most universal patterns in human storytelling. Joseph Campbell identified what he called the monomyth, the hero with 1,000 faces, a narrative structure that appears in cultures around the world. The hero receives a call to adventure, crosses a threshold into the unknown, faces trials and tests, achieves a great victory or gains crucial wisdom, and returns home transformed. This pattern speaks to something deep in human experience. We all face challenges that seem impossible. We all must venture into unknown territory. We all hope to emerge from our struggles wiser and stronger. The hero myths offer models for this journey, showing us that the path through darkness leads to light. Tonight, as you rest in the gentle darkness, let these ancient heroes accompany you. Their struggles are our struggles. Their triumphs point toward our own possibilities. The oldest hero story in written literature is the Epic of Gilgamesh, recorded on clay tablets in ancient Mesopotamia nearly 4,000 years ago. It tells of a king who had everything: strength, beauty, power, and wisdom, yet could not escape the one fate that awaits us all. Gilgamesh was king of the great city of Uruk, said to be 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. He was the mightiest of men, able to outfight any warrior, outrun any athlete. But his power made him arrogant. He oppressed his people, taking whatever he wanted, forcing young men to labor and young women to his bed. The people cried out to the gods for relief, and the gods responded by creating Enkidu, a wild man who lived among the animals in the wilderness. Enkidu was covered with hair, knew nothing of civilization, and was as strong as Gilgamesh himself. A hunter discovered Enkidu at a watering hole, and was terrified by the wild man's strength. He told his father, who advised him to bring a sacred prostitute from Uruk. When Enkidu saw the woman, he was overcome with desire. They lay together for 6 days and 7 nights, and when Enkidu tried to return to the animals, they fled from him. He had become human. The woman taught Enkidu about bread and beer, about clothing and cities. She told him of Gilgamesh's power and arrogance. Enkidu decided to challenge the king, to humble his pride. When Enkidu arrived in Uruk, Gilgamesh was about to claim a bride on her wedding night. Enkidu blocked the doorway, and the two mighty beings fought through the streets, shaking the walls, shattering doorposts. Neither could defeat the other. Finally, exhausted, they stopped fighting and embraced. They recognized in each other a true equal, and they became the closest of friends. Their friendship transformed both of them. Gilgamesh became a better king, no longer oppressing his people. Enkidu gained the benefits of civilization while tempering its excesses. Together, they decided to seek glory by defeating the monster Humbaba, guardian of the great cedar forest. The journey to the cedar forest took many days. Gilgamesh was troubled by dreams, but Enkidu interpreted them as favorable omens. When they reached the forest, they heard Humbaba's terrifying roar. Even Gilgamesh hesitated, but Enkidu encouraged him forward. Humbaba was a fearsome creature, his face like coiled intestines, his breath fire and death. He tried to talk his way out of the fight, promising to serve Gilgamesh, but Enkidu urged his friend to kill the monster before his words weakened their resolve. With the help of the sun god Shamash, who sent winds to bind Humbaba, Gilgamesh struck off the monster's head. When they returned to Uruk in triumph, the goddess Ishtar saw Gilgamesh in all his glory and desired him. She offered him her love, promising riches and power. But Gilgamesh rejected her, listing her previous lovers and the terrible fates that had befallen them. Ishtar, furious, went to her father Anu and demanded the Bull of Heaven to punish Gilgamesh. The Bull of Heaven rampaged through Uruk, killing hundreds with each snort of its breath. But Gilgamesh and Enkidu together fought the beast. Enkidu seized it by the tail, while Gilgamesh drove his sword into its neck. When Ishtar cursed them from the city walls, Enkidu tore off the bull's thigh and threw it at her face. But this act of hubris had consequences. The gods met in council and decreed that one of the heroes must die for killing Humbaba and the Bull of Heaven. They chose Enkidu. He fell ill with a wasting sickness, lingering for 12 days as his strength faded. In his illness, Enkidu cursed the woman who had civilized him, for it was she who had led him to this fate. But Shamash reminded him of all the good things civilization had brought, the friendship of Gilgamesh, the taste of bread and beer, the honor of his deeds. Enkidu relented and blessed the woman instead. When Enkidu died, Gilgamesh was inconsolable. He refused to bury his friend, hoping he might yet revive. Only when a worm fell out of Enkidu's nose did Gilgamesh accept the truth. He tore his hair, stripped off his royal robes, and wept. But more than grief moved Gilgamesh. Terror seized him. If Enkidu could die, so could he. For the first time, Gilgamesh faced his own mortality. He could not bear it. He set out on a quest to find immortality. Gilgamesh traveled to the ends of the earth, to the place where the sun rises. He came to a mountain guarded by scorpion men, beings of terror who barred the way. but they recognized his divine heritage and allowed him to pass through the mountain's dark tunnel, running for 12 leagues before the sun could catch him. He emerged into a garden of jewels, where precious stones grew on trees. But Gilgamesh, bent on his quest, barely noticed the wonders. He continued to the sea at the edge of the world, where he found Siguri, the owl wife, who kept a tavern at the world's end. Siguri tried to dissuade him. "Immortality is not for humans," she said. "Enjoy the life you have. Eat good food, wear fine clothes, dance and be merry, cherish your child, make your wife happy. This is the lot of mortals." But Gilgamesh would not be deterred. Siguri directed him to Urshanabi, the boatman who could ferry him across the waters of death to Utnapishtim, the one human who had achieved immortality. The crossing was dangerous. The waters of death destroyed anything that touched them. Gilgamesh had to punt the boat with poles, each one destroyed after a single use, never letting his hands touch the water. At last he reached the far shore, where Utnapishtim lived with his wife in eternal peace. Gilgamesh begged to know the secret of immortality. Utnapishtim told him his story. Long ago, the gods had decided to destroy humanity with a great flood. But the wise god, warned Utnapishtim in a dream. He built a great boat and loaded it with his family, craftsmen, and the seed of all living things. For 6 days and 7 nights, the flood raged. When it subsided, the boat rested on a mountain. Utnapishtim sent out birds to find land, first a dove, then a swallow, finally a raven that did not return. He released the animals and offered sacrifice to the gods. Enlil, who had sent the flood, was angry that any had survived. But convinced him that Utnapishtim should not be punished for E's deed. Instead, the gods granted Utnapishtim and his wife immortality, setting them apart at the edge of the world. But there would be no flood now, no council of gods to grant Gilgamesh eternal life. Utnapishtim challenged him to a test: stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. If Gilgamesh could conquer sleep, perhaps he could conquer death. Gilgamesh sat down, determined to remain awake. But immediately, exhaustion overtook him. He slept for 6 days and 7 nights without waking. Utnapishtim's wife baked a loaf of bread each day and set it beside him. When he finally woke, he tried to claim he had merely rested his eyes. But the bread told the truth, the first loaf already rotted, the last still fresh. Gilgamesh had failed. In despair, he prepared to return home. But Utnapishtim's wife urged her husband to give Gilgamesh something for his journey. So Utnapishtim revealed a secret: at the bottom of the sea grew a plant that would restore youth. Gilgamesh tied stones to his feet and sank to the bottom. He found the plant, pricking his hands on its thorns, and rose to the surface. He decided to take the plant back to Uruk and test it first on an old man. If it worked, he would eat it and become young again. But on the journey home, Gilgamesh stopped to bathe in a cool pool. A serpent smelled the plant and stole it, sloughing off its skin as it slithered away, renewed. Gilgamesh wept, his quest had failed. The secret of eternal youth belonged to the snake. He returned to Uruk empty-handed, but as he approached the great walls he had built, something shifted in him. He showed Urshanabi the walls, their foundation of burnt brick, their perfect construction. These walls would endure for ages. This city was his immortality, the monument that would carry his name through time. The epic ends with a repetition of its opening lines, a description of the great walls of Uruk. Gilgamesh did not conquer death, but he found what all of us must find: a way to live meaningfully despite death. His fame, his city, his story, these are his immortality. And here we are, 4,000 years later, still telling his tale. Ancient Greece produced a wealth of hero myths, tales of men and women who transcended ordinary human limits through courage, cunning, and divine favor. Let us explore some of the most famous. Heracles, called Hercules by the Romans, was the greatest of Greek heroes, a son of Zeus by the mortal woman Alcmene. Hera, jealous of yet another of her husband's infidelities, sent 2 serpents to kill the infant Heracles in his cradle. But the divine child seized the snakes and strangled them with his bare hands. Heracles grew to be the strongest man in the world, but his strength was also his curse. In a fit of madness sent by Hera, he killed his own wife and children. When he came to his senses and realized what he had done, he went to the Oracle of Delphi to learn how he could atone. The oracle told him to serve King Eurystheus of Mycenae and complete whatever tasks the king assigned him. These became the famous 12 labors of Heracles. First, he had to kill the Nemean lion, whose hide was impervious to weapons. Heracles strangled the beast with his bare hands and skinned it with its own claws. He wore the lion's pelt as armor for the rest of his life. Second, he killed the Lernaean Hydra, a water serpent with many heads. When one head was cut off, 2 more grew in its place. Heracles enlisted his nephew Iolaus to sear each stump with fire as soon as he severed a head, preventing regrowth. The immortal head he buried under a heavy rock. Third, he captured the Cyrenian hind, a deer with golden antlers sacred to Artemis. This was a task of endurance rather than strength, for he had to pursue the hind for a year before finally capturing it. Fourth, he captured the Eurymanthian boar, driving it into deep snow where he could trap it. Fifth, he cleaned the Augean stables in a single day. King Augeas had vast herds of cattle, and their stables had not been cleaned in 30 years. Heracles diverted 2 rivers to wash the filth away. Sixth, he killed the Stymphalian birds, man-eating creatures with bronze beaks and metallic feathers they could launch like arrows. Athena gave him a rattle to startle them into flight, and he shot them down. Seventh, he captured the Cretan bull, a magnificent beast that had fathered the Minotaur. Eighth, he captured the mares of Diomes, horses that had been fed on human flesh. Heracles killed Diomes and fed him to his own horses, after which they became tame. Ninth, he obtained the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. In some versions, Hippolyta gave it willingly, but Hera stirred up trouble that led to battle. 10th, he captured the cattle of Geryon, a monster with 3 bodies who lived on an island in the far west. On this journey, Heracles set up the Pillars of Heracles at the Strait of Gibraltar. 11th, he obtained the golden apples of the Hesperides, which grew in a garden at the edge of the world, guarded by a dragon. Heracles persuaded the Titan Atlas to fetch the apples for him, while Heracles held up the sky in Atlas's place. 12th and finally, he descended to the underworld to capture Cerberus, the 3-headed dog that guarded the gates of Hades. He brought the beast to Eurystheus, who was so frightened he hid in a bronze jar, then returned Cerberus to the underworld. These labors took years to complete and brought Heracles fame throughout the world. But his life was marked by tragedy as well as triumph. He had several wives, including Deianira, who inadvertently caused his death. Deceived by the dying centaur Nessus, she gave Heracles a robe soaked in what she thought was a love potion, but was actually poison. When Heracles put on the robe, it burned his flesh. In agony, he built his own funeral pyre and was consumed by flame, but the gods raised him to Olympus, where he became immortal at last. Perseus was another famous hero, son of Zeus and the princess Dana. His grandfather Acrisius had locked Dana in a bronze chamber after an oracle predicted that her son would kill him, but Zeus visited her as a shower of golden light, and Perseus was conceived. When Perseus grew to manhood, a king named Polydex wanted to marry his mother and saw Perseus as an obstacle. Polydex challenged Perseus to bring him the head of Medusa, one of the 3 Gorgons, whose gaze turned anyone who looked at her to stone. He expected Perseus to die in the attempt, but the gods favored Perseus. Athena gave him her polished shield, Hermes gave him his winged sandals and a curved sword, and the nymphs gave him a cap of invisibility and a special bag to carry the Gorgon's head. Perseus found the Gorgons asleep, approached Medusa without looking directly at her, by watching her reflection in his shield, and struck off her head with a single blow. On his journey home, Perseus saw the princess Andromeda chained to a rock, offered as a sacrifice to a sea monster. Her mother Cassiopeia had boasted that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs, and this was her punishment. Perseus killed the monster and claimed Andromeda as his bride. At the wedding feast, Andromeda's former suitor attacked with armed men. Perseus pulled out Medusa's head and turned them all to stone. He later gave the head to Athena, who placed it on her shield. The prophecy about Perseus killing his grandfather came true accidentally. At athletic games, Perseus threw a discus that was caught by the wind and struck Acrisius in the crowd, killing him instantly. Horrified by what he had done, Perseus refused to claim his grandfather's kingdom and went elsewhere to found his own dynasty. Theseus was the great hero of Athens, a king's son who grew up ignorant of his heritage, until his mother revealed the sword and sandals his father had left under a heavy rock. When Theseus could lift the rock, he would be ready to claim his birthright. Rather than sail safely to Athens, Theseus chose the dangerous overland route. Defeating bandits and monsters along the way, he killed Periphetes, who bludgeoned travelers with a bronze club. He killed Cines, who tied travelers between two bent pine trees and let them spring apart. He killed Sciron, who kicked travelers off a cliff into the jaws of a giant turtle. He killed Procrustes, who stretched or cut travelers to fit his bed. When Theseus arrived in Athens, his father Aegeus did not recognize him, but the sorceress Medea, who was Aegeus's consort, did. She tried to poison Theseus, but at the last moment Aegeus saw the sword he had left years ago and knocked the cup from his son's hand. Theseus's greatest adventure was his journey to Crete to kill the Minotaur. The Athenians had to send 7 young men and 7 young women to Crete every 9 years as tribute to King Minos, food for the monster that dwelt in the labyrinth. Theseus volunteered to go as one of the victims, determined to kill the beast and end the tribute. On Crete, the princess Ariadne fell in love with Theseus. She gave him a ball of thread to unwind as he entered the labyrinth so he could find his way back out. Theseus found the Minotaur and killed it, either with his bare hands or with a sword Ariadne had given him. Following the thread, he escaped the maze and fled Crete with Ariadne and the other Athenians. But on the island of Naxos, Theseus abandoned Ariadne. Some say he forgot her, some say the gods commanded it, some say he simply grew tired of her. The god Dionysus found her weeping on the shore and made her his wife. Theseus's ship had black sails when it left Athens, the color of mourning. He had promised his father that if he survived, he would replace them with white sails. But Theseus forgot. As the ship approached Athens, Aegeus watched from a cliff. Seeing the black sails, he believed his son was dead and threw himself into the sea, which is called the Aegean to this day. These Greek heroes share certain characteristics. They are often of divine or partly divine parentage. They face impossible challenges and succeed through a combination of strength, cunning, and divine favor. They experience tragic losses even in their triumphs. And their stories were told and retold, becoming the common heritage of Greek civilization. Of all the Greek heroes, perhaps the most beloved is Odysseus, whose 10-year journey home from the Trojan War became the subject of Homer's Odyssey. The Trojan War itself was fought over Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. She was married to Menelaus, king of Sparta, but the goddess Aphrodite had promised her to Paris, a prince of Troy, as a reward for judging Aphrodite the most beautiful goddess. Paris visited Sparta and, with Aphrodite's help, convinced Helen to elope with him to Troy. Menelaus called upon all the Greek kings who had sworn an oath to defend Helen's marriage. 1,000 ships sailed for Troy, carrying the greatest warriors of the age. Among them was Odysseus, king of the small island of Ithaca, known not for his strength but for his cunning mind. The war lasted 10 years. Many heroes died, including Achilles and Hector. Troy was finally conquered through Odysseus's stratagem of the wooden horse. The Greeks pretended to sail away, leaving behind a great wooden horse as an offering. The Trojans, despite warnings, brought it inside their walls. That night, Greek warriors hidden inside the horse emerged and opened the gates for the army, which had secretly returned. Troy was sacked and burned. But the journey home was cursed. Odysseus and his men faced disaster after disaster, and it would take another 10 years before Odysseus finally reached Ithaca. First, they encountered the Cicons, allies of Troy. After an initial victory, Odysseus's men lingered too long plundering and were driven back to their ships with heavy losses. Then they came to the land of the lotus eaters. Those who ate the lotus fruit lost all desire to return home, wanting only to stay and eat more lotus. Odysseus had to drag his men back to the ships by force. Next came the island of the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants who lived in caves and herded sheep. Odysseus and 12 of his men explored a large cave, hoping to find hospitality. Instead, they found Polyphemus, a cyclops who blocked the cave entrance with a great boulder and began eating the men 2 at a time. Odysseus devised a plan. He offered Polyphemus wine, and when the giant asked his name, he replied that he was called Nobody. When Polyphemus passed out drunk, Odysseus and his men drove a sharpened, fire-hardened stake into his single eye. Polyphemus screamed for help, but when the other Cyclopes asked who was hurting him, he shouted that nobody was hurting him, so they went away. In the morning, Odysseus and his men escaped by clinging to the bellies of Polyphemus's sheep, as the blind giant let them out to graze. But as he sailed away, Odysseus could not resist boasting. He shouted his true name to Polyphemus, who prayed to his father Poseidon for revenge. This is why Poseidon persecuted Odysseus across the seas, preventing his return for 10 long years. They next visited Aeolus, king of the winds, who gave Odysseus a bag containing all the winds contrary to his voyage. With only favorable winds blowing, they came within sight of Ithaca. But while Odysseus slept, his men, thinking the bag contained treasure, opened it. The winds rushed out and blew them all the way back to Aeolus, who refused to help them again. They then came to the Laestrygonians, cannibal giants who destroyed all of Odysseus's ships, except his own, and ate their crews. With only one ship remaining, Odysseus reached the island of the sorceress Circe, who turned half his men into pigs. With the help of Hermes, Odysseus resisted her magic and convinced her to restore his men. They stayed on her island for a year, enjoying her hospitality, until the men reminded Odysseus of home. Circe told Odysseus he must first visit the underworld to consult the prophet Tiresias. Odysseus sailed to the edge of the world, performed the rituals Circe had taught him, and summoned the spirits of the dead. Tiresias warned him not to harm the cattle of the sun god Helios, or his return would be further delayed and his men would perish. Among the shades, Odysseus met his mother, who had died of grief during his absence. He also saw fallen heroes of the war, including Achilles, who told him he would rather be a living slave than a dead king. Returning to Circe, Odysseus received instructions for the next part of his journey. They had to pass the Sirens, creatures whose beautiful singing lured sailors to their deaths. Odysseus filled his men's ears with wax, and had himself tied to the mast, so he could hear their song without succumbing. He became the only mortal to hear the sirens and survive. They then had to navigate between Scylla, a 6-headed monster, and Charybdis, a whirlpool that swallowed whole ships. Better to lose 6 men to Scylla than the entire ship to Charybdis. It was as Circe had advised, but that made it no easier. When Scylla snatched 6 of his men, and ate them, while they called his name, they came to the island of the sun god, where Helios's sacred cattle grazed. Odysseus warned his men not to touch the cattle, but contrary winds trapped them on the island for a month. When their food ran out and Odysseus went inland to prey, the men slaughtered some of the cattle. Helios demanded revenge, and when they sailed again, Zeus struck the ship with a thunderbolt. Everyone died except Odysseus, who clung to wreckage until he washed ashore on the island of the nymph Calypso. Calypso kept Odysseus for 7 years, offering him immortality if he would stay with her. But he longed only for home and his wife Penelope. Each day he sat on the shore, weeping and gazing at the sea. Finally, the gods intervened. Athena pleaded his case, and Zeus sent Hermes to command Calypso to release him. She provided him with materials to build a raft and sent him on his way. But Poseidon was not finished. He sent a storm that destroyed the raft. Odysseus would have drowned if the sea goddess Ino had not given him her veil to protect him. He swam for 2 days and nights before reaching the land of the Phaeacians. The Phaeacians were great sailors, favored by the gods. Their princess Nausicaa found Odysseus on the beach, and brought him to her father King Alcinous. At a feast in his honor, Odysseus finally revealed his identity, and told the story of his wanderings. The Phaeacians, moved by his tale, gave him treasure, and transported him to Ithaca while he slept. He awoke on his own island but did not recognize it at first. Athena appeared and told him of the situation at home. Suitors had invaded his palace, consuming his wealth and pressuring Penelope to choose one of them as her new husband. His son Telemachus, now grown to manhood, was in danger. Athena disguised Odysseus as a beggar. He went first to the hut of his swineherd Eumaeus, who showed him hospitality without recognizing his master. There he met Telemachus, who had been sent by Athena to seek news of his father. Odysseus revealed himself to his son, and together they planned their revenge. Odysseus went to the palace as a beggar, observing the suitors' behavior, being mocked and abused. The old dog Argos, who had been a puppy when Odysseus left, recognized his master and died wagging his tail. Penelope spoke with the disguised beggar, still not recognizing her husband, and told him she would hold a contest the next day. Whoever could string Odysseus's great bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads would win her hand. The next day, none of the suitors could even string the bow. When the beggar asked to try, they mocked him, but Penelope allowed it. Odysseus strung the bow with ease and shot through the axe heads. Then he turned on the suitors. With Telemachus, Eumaeus, and another loyal servant, he killed them all. The reunion of Odysseus and Penelope is one of the most moving scenes in literature. She tested him with a trick, ordering a servant to move their bed. But Odysseus knew the bed could not be moved, for he had built it himself around a living olive tree. By this knowledge, Penelope knew he was truly her husband. After 20 years apart, they were together again. The Odyssey ends with Odysseus re-establishing his rule and making peace with the families of the dead suitors. His journey was finally over. But the poem makes clear that even this was not the end. Tiresias had prophesied that Odysseus would travel again, carrying an oar so far inland that people would mistake it for a winnowing fan, and there he would plant it and make offerings to Poseidon. Only then would he find peace. Let us expand our vision beyond Greece to heroes from other cultures, for every civilization has celebrated its exceptional individuals. In India, the great epic the Mahabharata tells of the 5 Pandava brothers and their struggle against their 100 cousins, the Kauravas, for the throne of Bharata. At the heart of the epic is Arjuna, the greatest archer in the world, and his charioteer Krishna, who is actually the god Vishnu in human form. The conflict between the Pandavas and Kauravas led to a great war on the field of Kurukshetra. But when Arjuna saw his teachers, relatives, and friends arrayed on the opposing side, he dropped his bow and refused to fight. How could he kill his own kinsman? Krishna's response forms the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most influential spiritual texts in the world. Krishna taught Arjuna that the soul is immortal. What seems like death is merely a change of garments. Arjuna's duty as a warrior was to fight, regardless of the outcome. But he should act without attachment to results, offering all his actions to God. Krishna revealed his true divine form to Arjuna, a cosmic vision of the universal God containing all beings, all times, all possibilities. Armed with this knowledge, Arjuna fought and the Pandavas won the war, though at a terrible cost. The other great Indian epic, the Ramayana, tells of Rama, the ideal king, whose wife Sita was abducted by the demon king Ravana. With the help of the monkey general Hanuman and an army of monkeys and bears, Rama invaded Lanka, defeated Ravana, and rescued Sita. Hanuman deserves special mention. He was the son of the wind god, possessed of enormous strength and the ability to change his size at will. When Rama's brother Lakshmana was wounded and needed a healing herb from a distant mountain, Hanuman could not identify the correct herb, so he lifted the entire mountain and carried it back. Hanuman is worshipped throughout India as a symbol of devotion, strength, and selfless service. His love for Rama was absolute. When asked why he served Rama so faithfully, Hanuman opened his chest to reveal Rama and Sita dwelling in his heart. In the Celtic traditions of Ireland we find the hero Cuchulainn, whose name means the Hound of Culann. Born Setanta, he earned his name by killing a fierce watchdog and taking its place until a new hound could be raised. Cuchulainn was trained in arms by the warrior woman Scathach in Scotland. He received the deadly spear Gíbolg, which, when thrown, entered the body as one point and expanded into 30 barbs, always causing death. His most famous deed was single-handedly defending the province of Ulster against the armies of Queen Medb of Connacht during the Great Cattle Raid of Cooley. Because of a curse, the warriors of Ulster were struck with labor pains and could not fight. Only Cuchulainn, whose mother was not Ulsterian, was unaffected. He stood at a ford and challenged Medb's champions one by one, defeating each in single combat. For months he held the ford, allowing the Ulstermen time to recover. When his friend Ferdiad was sent against him, they fought for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Cuchulainn killed his friend with the Gíbolg and wept over his body. In battle, Cuchulainn underwent a transformation called the warp spasm, where his body contorted monstrously. one eye sucked into his head while the other bulged out, his mouth twisted to his ears, his heart pounding visibly in his chest. In this state he could not distinguish friend from foe. Ku Chulainn died young, as had been prophesied. Wounded and weakened by magic, he tied himself to a standing stone so he would die on his feet. Only when a crow landed on his shoulder did his enemies dare approach, and by then, he was dead. In West Africa, the epic of Sundiata tells of the founder of the Mali Empire. Sundiata was a prince, born with a disability that left him unable to walk. His father's death brought a cruel stepmother to power, and Sundiata and his mother were forced into exile. During his years of wandering, Sundiata grew in strength and wisdom. Finally, he returned to challenge the sorcerer King Saumaoro Kante, who had conquered his homeland. In a great battle, Sundiata defeated Saumaoro with an arrow tipped with the spur of a white rooster, the one substance that could overcome the sorcerer's magic. Sundiata became the Lion King of Mali, establishing an empire that would last for centuries. His story is still told by griots, traditional storytellers who preserve West African history and culture through oral performance. In Japan, the tale of the hike recounts the rise and fall of the Terra clan in the 12th century. Though this is historical narrative rather than myth, the characters have taken on legendary status. The young warrior Minamoto no Yoshitsune is perhaps the most romanticized figure. Small and delicate, trained in warfare by the mountain spirits called Tengu, Yoshitsune led the Minamoto clan to victory against the Terra. But after the war, his brother, the new shogun, grew suspicious of his popularity. Yoshitsune became a fugitive, betrayed by those he trusted, and finally took his own life. His story embodies the Japanese ideal of the tragic hero, the brilliant warrior undone not by enemies, but by fate and political necessity. Yoshitsune has been the subject of countless plays, novels, and films, a figure of eternal youth and romantic tragedy. As we close this third part of our journey, we have walked with heroes through impossible trials. We followed Gilgamesh as he sought immortality, watched him lose everything, and saw him find meaning nonetheless in the walls of his city and the telling of his tale. We accompanied the Greek heroes on their labors and journeys, Heracles cleansing his guilt through impossible tasks, Perseus rescuing the princess and fulfilling prophecy, Theseus defeating the Minotaur, Odysseus finding his long way home. We traveled to India with Arjuna learning the secret of detachment on the battlefield, and with Rama rescuing his beloved Sita from the demon king. We stood with Ku Chulainn at the ford, defending Ulster against an army, and with Sundiata reclaiming his kingdom from the sorcerer. These heroes are not perfect. They make mistakes, succumb to pride, cause suffering to those they love. But they face their challenges with courage. They venture into the unknown. They do what must be done, even at terrible cost. In this, they are models for us all. We may not fight monsters or challenge gods, but we all face trials that seem impossible. We all must venture beyond our comfort into unknown territory. We all hope to return transformed, wiser for our struggles. Rest now, dear listener. In our final part, we will explore the darker corners of mythology, the monsters and the tricksters, the journeys to the underworld, and finally, the end of all things. The night deepens, and the most profound mysteries await. Welcome, dear listener, to the final part of our journey through world mythology. The hour grows late, and it is time to venture into the shadow realms, those aspects of myth that confront us with what we most fear and least understand. Mythology is not all heroic triumphs and divine glory. The ancients knew that the world contains darkness as well as light, terror as well as wonder. Monsters lurk at the edges of the known world. Tricksters upset the established order. The dead continue in realms beneath or beyond our own. And all things, even the gods themselves, must someday end. These darker myths serve a purpose. By giving form to our fears, they help us confront them. By imagining the realm of the dead, we prepare ourselves for our own inevitable journey. By contemplating the end of the world, we learn to cherish what we have while we have it. So close your eyes and follow where the stories lead. Into the darkness, through the darkness, and ultimately, toward the light that always returns. Every culture has imagined monsters, beings of terror that embody the forces of chaos threatening the ordered world. These creatures are projections of human fear, but they also represent real dangers, both external and internal. We have already met some monsters in our journey. Tiamat, the chaos dragon of Babylon, the Midgard serpent coiled around the world, the Minotaur in its labyrinth. Now let us examine more closely what these creatures represent. The dragon is perhaps the most universal monster, appearing in mythologies around the world. In Western tradition, dragons are typically creatures of destruction, hoarding treasure, demanding virgin sacrifices, threatening kingdoms until a hero arrives to slay them. Saint George and his dragon, Siegfried and Fafnir, Beowulf and the dragon that finally kills him, these tales follow a similar pattern. But in Eastern traditions, dragons are often benevolent. Chinese dragons are creatures of power and good fortune, associated with the emperor and with rainfall. They bring prosperity rather than destruction. The difference reflects different cultural attitudes toward nature and the forces it represents. What is a dragon? It combines features of various predators, the serpent, the lion, the eagle, often with the ability to breathe fire or poison. It is a super predator, combining every threat into a single terrible form. But it is also a symbol of the unconscious, the deep forces within ourselves that we fear to confront. Carl Jung interpreted dragon-slaying myths as representations of psychological development. The dragon is the devouring mother, the force that would keep us in infantile dependency. The hero who slays the dragon frees himself from this grip, claiming the treasure that represents adult autonomy, and the princess who represents the anima, the feminine aspect of the psyche. The serpent, kin to the dragon, appears throughout mythology with complex and contradictory symbolism. In Genesis, the serpent is the tempter who brings about humanity's fall. In Greek myth, serpents guard sacred places and carry divine knowledge. In Hindu tradition, the Kundalini energy is visualized as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine. In Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl is the feathered serpent, a god of wisdom and life. The serpent's ability to shed its skin made it a symbol of renewal and immortality. Its limbless movement seemed uncanny, neither walking nor swimming. Its venomous bite could bring swift death. No wonder this creature captured the human imagination and took on such varied meanings. Giants appear in mythologies worldwide, often as the original inhabitants of the earth, overthrown by the gods or heroes of the current order. The Greek Titans preceded the Olympians. The Norse giants were the ancient enemies of the Aesir. The biblical Nephilim were fallen angels' children. Irish mythology tells of the Fomorians, monstrous beings defeated by the Tuatha Dé Danann. Giants represent the old, the primitive, the forces of nature before they were tamed by civilization and culture. When the gods defeat the giants, they establish order over chaos, civilization over wilderness. But the giants remain at the margins, threatening to return, as they will at Ragnarok. Composite creatures, beings that combine features of different animals, appear throughout mythology. The Sphinx combines human head, lion body, and sometimes eagle wings. The Chimera has a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. The Manticore has a human face, lion body, and scorpion tail. These hybrids violate the natural order, suggesting that the boundaries between categories are not fixed. They represent the possibility of disorder, the threat that things might not stay in their proper places. They challenge us to face the reality that the categories we use to make sense of the world are our constructions, not nature's. The undead, creatures that should be dead but continue to move and act, appear in mythologies worldwide. Ghosts are the spirits of the dead who have not properly departed. Vampires are corpses that rise to drink the blood of the living. Zombies are bodies without souls, animated by dark magic. These creatures embody our anxiety about death. Is death really the end? What if the dead could return? What if death is not a clean separation but a messy, ambiguous condition? The undead force us to confront these uncomfortable questions. Sea monsters represent the terrors of the deep. Scylla and Charybdis guarded the straits, threatening sailors with either many-headed death or whirlpool destruction. The Kraken of Norse legend could drag whole ships beneath the waves. Jonah's whale, though not strictly a monster, represents the overwhelming power of the sea. The ocean was, for ancient peoples, the ultimate unknown. Beyond the horizon lay mysteries no one could fathom. The monsters imagined there embodied this fear of the unknown, the sense that beyond the familiar world lay forces beyond human comprehension. What all these monsters share is their otherness. They are not like us. They do not follow our rules. They represent everything that threatens the fragile order we have constructed, whether that threat comes from nature, from the unconscious, or from the simple fact of our mortality. While monsters embody what we fear, tricksters embody what we cannot quite control, the force of chaos that operates not from outside but from within the system itself. Every mythology has its trickster, the figure who breaks rules, overturns expectations, and reminds us that order is not absolute. We have already met Loki, the Norse trickster who helped the gods until he brought about Baldur's death and became their enemy. But let us explore the trickster archetype more broadly. In West African and African American tradition, the trickster often takes the form of a spider. Anansi is the spider god of the Akan people, known for his cunning and his stories. In one famous tale, Anansi wanted to own all the stories in the world, which belonged to the sky god Niam. Niam set an impossible price: 4 of the most dangerous creatures, a python, a leopard, a swarm of hornets and a fairy. Using his wit rather than his strength, Anansi captured them all and won the stories. Anansi's stories traveled with enslaved Africans to the Americas, where they continued to evolve. The weak but clever spider who outwits the strong appealed to people who had been stripped of everything except their minds. In the Caribbean and American South, Anansi became Brer Rabbit, the trickster who outsmarts Brer Fox through cleverness and audacity. In Native American traditions, the trickster takes many forms, most famously Coyote in the traditions of the Southwest and Pacific Northwest, and Raven in the traditions of the Pacific Northwest coast. Coyote is both creator and fool, culture hero and buffoon. In some stories, he helps create the world, steals fire for humanity, or releases the animals from captivity. In other stories, he is overcome by his appetites, gets himself killed through stupidity, and has to be brought back to life. One famous Coyote story tells how he decided to fly with a flock of geese. Each goose gave him a feather, and he soared among them, feeling proud, but Coyote could not resist calling out to people below to look at him. When he opened his mouth, he dropped the feather he was carrying in his beak, and plummeted to earth. This is the trickster's nature. He cannot help himself. He must transgress, must break rules, even when it hurts him. But his transgressions often bring benefits to others. He is the force of creative chaos, the spark of the unexpected. Raven is the great trickster of the Pacific Northwest. In the most famous story, he releases the sun. In the beginning, the world was dark because an old chief hoarded the sun, moon, and stars in boxes. Raven transformed himself into a hemlock needle and was swallowed by the chief's daughter when she drank from a stream. Reborn as her child, Raven cried and fussed until the chief let him play with the boxes. First Raven released the stars, then the moon, then finally tricked the chief into opening the box containing the sun, which Raven seized in his beak and carried up through the smoke hole, releasing light into the world. In Greek mythology, Prometheus has trickster qualities. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, but he also tricked Zeus at the first sacrifice, creating the custom by which humans keep the good meat, while the gods receive only bones and fat. His name means forethought, and he is the benefactor of humanity, suffering eternal punishment for his generosity. Hermes also has trickster aspects. On the day of his birth, he invented the lyre, stole Apollo's cattle, and talked his way out of punishment with charm and wit. He became the god of boundaries and the crossing of boundaries, of thieves and merchants, of travelers and guides to the dead. He moves between worlds, never quite belonging to any. Trickster challenges our assumptions about how the world should work. He reminds us that rules are conventions, not natural laws, that power can be undermined by wit, that laughter is a response to chaos as valid as fear. But the trickster also has a dark side. Loki's tricks became increasingly malicious, culminating in Baldur's death. Coyote's appetites lead him into destruction. The trickster knows no limits, and limitlessness is dangerous. Perhaps this is the trickster's deepest teaching. Freedom and danger are inseparable. The same force that liberates can destroy. The creative chaos that brings fire to humanity also brings the punishment of Prometheus and the eventual destruction of Ragnarok. Every culture has imagined a realm of the dead, and heroes in many traditions have journeyed there and returned. These underworld journeys, called katabasis in Greek, represent the ultimate confrontation with mortality. We have already encountered Inanna's descent to the Mesopotamian underworld and Odysseus's visit to the edge of Hades. Let us explore this theme more fully. In Greek mythology, the underworld was called Hades, named after the god who ruled it. The Greeks imagined it as a dim, shadowy place beneath the earth, where the souls of the dead continued a pale imitation of life. The newly dead were ferried across the river Styx by Charon the boatman, but only if they had a coin to pay the fare. This is why the Greeks buried their dead with coins placed on or in the mouth. Beyond the river, Cerberus the three-headed dog guarded the entrance, preventing the dead from leaving and the living from entering. The souls of the dead drank from the river Lethe and forgot their mortal lives. Most souls simply existed in this gray realm, neither tormented nor rewarded, simply persisting. But there were regions of both punishment and reward. Tartarus was the deepest pit, where the Titans were imprisoned and great sinners were punished. Tantalus, who had served his own son to the gods, stood in a pool of water beneath fruit trees, but when he reached for the fruit, the branches pulled away, and when he tried to drink, the water receded. Sisyphus, who had cheated death, rolled a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to see it roll back down each time he neared the summit. The Elysian Fields, by contrast, were a paradise for heroes and the virtuous. Later Greek thought developed the idea of the Isles of the Blessed, where the especially worthy enjoyed eternal happiness. Orpheus, the greatest musician, attempted a katabasis to rescue his wife Eurydice, who had died from a snakebite. His music charmed even the rulers of the dead, and Hades agreed to release Eurydice on one condition. Orpheus must walk before her on the return journey and not look back until they reached the upper world. They climbed through the darkness, Orpheus leading, listening for Eurydice's footsteps behind him. But as they neared the surface, doubt overcame him. Was she really there? At the last moment, he turned to look. For a single instant, he saw her reaching out to him. Then she faded back into the darkness, lost forever. This myth captures the terrible finality of death. We cannot bring back those we love, no matter how much we wish it. Orpheus's failure is our failure, the universal human inability to accept loss and let go. Heracles descended to the underworld as his 12th labor, to capture Cerberus. Unlike other visitors, he went with divine sanction and was able to wrestle the three-headed dog into submission. He brought Cerberus to the upper world to show Eurystheus, then returned him safely to Hades. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the hero does not physically descend to the underworld, but he reaches its threshold. At the edge of the world, he crosses the waters of death to meet Utnapishtim, who has transcended mortality. And in a later addition to the epic, Gilgamesh speaks with the spirit of Enkidu, who describes the dreary conditions of the dead. In Norse mythology, Hermod rode to Hel to negotiate for Baldur's return. Unlike the Greek underworld, the Norse Hel was cold rather than warm, ruled by the goddess Hel, daughter of Loki. Hermod's mission failed when Loki refused to weep for Baldur, but the journey demonstrated that even the gods could not command death. The Aztec underworld, Mictlan, was reached through a 4-year journey of trials. The dead had to cross a river with the help of a dog, pass between clashing mountains, endure 8 deserts and 8 hills, survive a wind of knives, and finally present themselves before Mictlantecuhtli, the Lord of the Dead. Japanese mythology tells of Izanagi's descent to Yomi, the land of the dead, to retrieve his wife Izanami, who had died giving birth to the fire god. He found her in the darkness and begged her to return. She agreed but told him not to look at her while she negotiated with the gods of Yomi, but Izanagi could not wait. He lit a torch and saw Izanami's rotting, maggot-infested body. In horror, he fled. Izanami, shamed and furious, sent demons and the 8 thunder gods to pursue him. Izanagi escaped by blocking the entrance to Yomi with a boulder. From opposite sides of the stone, the former lovers spoke their last words. Izanami vowed to kill 1,000 people every day. Izanagi replied that he would ensure 1,500 were born each day. And so death and birth came into the world. These underworld journeys share common elements. The hero must cross a boundary between worlds, often a river. There are guardians to be passed. The realm of the dead is dark and dreary. The dead themselves are diminished, shadows of their former selves, and typically the living cannot remain. The journey down must be followed by a return. What do these myths teach? They acknowledge the reality of death, while suggesting that it is not absolute annihilation. The dead continue in some form. They can sometimes be visited, though not rescued. And the boundary between life and death, though guarded, can be crossed by exceptional individuals. For those of us who will never make such a journey, these myths offer preparation. They map the territory ahead, making the unknown a little less terrifying. And they suggest that even death is not entirely final, that some connection with the departed remains possible. Many mythologies describe not just the creation of the world but also its end. These apocalyptic myths confront us with the ultimate limit, the knowledge that everything, including the cosmos itself, is temporary. We have already explored Ragnarok in detail, the Norse vision of the twilight of the gods, but other traditions have their own eschatologies, their own accounts of how the world will end. In Hindu cosmology, the end of each cosmic cycle comes when Shiva dances the Tandava, the dance of destruction. In his form as Nataraja, the lord of the dance, Shiva holds a drum representing creation and a flame representing destruction. His dancing foot stamps on a demon representing ignorance. Around him is a ring of fire, the cycle of birth and death. But Hindu destruction is always followed by renewal. After Brahma's day ends and the universe dissolves, a new day begins. A new universe emerges from the cosmic waters. Destruction is not final but cyclical, a clearing away to make room for new creation. The current age, the Kali Yuga, is characterized by decline and discord. Dharma, the cosmic order, has degenerated. But even this dark age will end. The 10th avatar of Vishnu, Kalki, will appear on a white horse to destroy the wicked and inaugurate a new golden age. Zoroastrian eschatology was among the most influential in shaping Western concepts of the end times. At the end of history, a savior called the Saoshyant will arise, born of a virgin who bathed in a lake where Zoroaster's seed was preserved. The dead will be resurrected and judged. A river of molten metal will flow across the earth, purifying the righteous while burning away the wicked's sins. In the final battle, Ahura Mazda will defeat Angra Mainyu once and for all. Evil will be destroyed, not just defeated. The renovation of the world will follow, a perfect existence without suffering, death, or decay. Time will come to an end, and eternity will begin. These Zoroastrian ideas influenced Jewish apocalypticism, which developed during the centuries before the Common Era. The Book of Daniel describes successive empires being destroyed and a final kingdom established by the Ancient of Days. Dead Sea Scrolls describe a great war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. Christian eschatology, drawing on both Jewish and Zoroastrian sources, envisions the return of Christ, the resurrection of the dead, the Last Judgment, and the establishment of God's kingdom. The Book of Revelation describes cosmic battles, plagues, and the final defeat of Satan, followed by a new heaven and new earth. Islamic eschatology describes the day of judgment, when all humans will be resurrected and judged according to their deeds. The righteous will enter paradise, the wicked will be consigned to hell. Before this final day, various signs will appear, including the coming of the Mahdi, a messianic figure, and the return of Jesus. In Aztec cosmology, we have already seen how the fifth sun was created through divine sacrifice and was destined to end through earthquakes. The Aztecs believed they were living in borrowed time, constantly working to delay the inevitable destruction. In the Buddhist tradition, the world passes through cycles of decline and renewal. As the Dharma, the Buddha's teaching, degenerates, human lifespans decrease and suffering increases. Eventually, the world will be destroyed by fire, water, or wind, only to be reconstituted for a new cycle. But Buddhism also teaches a different kind of ending, the personal liberation of nirvana. When all craving ceases, the cycle of rebirth ends for that individual. This is not annihilation but freedom, escape from the endless cycle of suffering. Native American traditions have various accounts of cosmic endings. The Hopis speak of previous worlds that were destroyed when people strayed from the Creator's path. The current fourth world will also end if humanity does not find its way back to balance. What do these end-of-world myths teach? First, that nothing lasts forever. Even the cosmos is temporary, whether in cyclical Hindu thought or linear Western eschatology. Second, that endings can be meaningful. The Norse went to Ragnarok with courage, knowing they would fall but fighting anyway. The Zoroastrian end brings final victory over evil. Christian eschatology promises eternal life. Third, that how we live matters, even if, especially if, the world will end. The choices we make echo into whatever comes next. Before we conclude, let us contemplate one final theme that runs through mythology, the cycle of death and rebirth. Whether in the changing seasons, the journey of the hero, or the promise of the afterlife, myths repeatedly show us that death is not the end, but a transformation. The seasonal cycles were among the first mysteries humans confronted. Each year the world seemed to die as winter came, and each spring, it was reborn. The myths of Persephone and Demeter, of Dumuzi and Inanna, of Baldur and his promised return, all attempt to make sense of this annual miracle. When Persephone was abducted by Hades and her mother Demeter mourned, the earth became barren. The compromise that allowed Persephone to return for part of each year gave us the seasons. The myth says that nature's death is real but temporary. The seeds that seem dead in winter hold life within them. Initiatory rituals in many cultures reenact death and rebirth. The initiate dies to their old self, often symbolically by entering a cave or hut representing a womb or tomb, and emerges reborn as a new person with a new status. The hero's journey follows this pattern, descending to the underworld or the depths of the ocean, confronting death, and returning transformed. The resurrection stories of dying and rising gods, from Osiris to Baldur to Jesus, promise that death can be overcome. Whether understood literally or symbolically, these myths offer hope that the death we all face is not final, that something continues or returns. Carl Jung saw in these death-rebirth myths the psychological process of transformation. The old self, the ego with its limited perspectives and defensive patterns, must die for a new, more integrated self to emerge. This is why initiatory experiences often involve confronting one's shadow, the repressed aspects of the psyche that we would rather not acknowledge. The mystics of various traditions describe death in life experiences, states in which the ordinary self dissolves and a greater reality is glimpsed. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote about dying before you die, and finding that there is no death. The Christian mystics spoke of the dark night of the soul, the painful stripping away of everything familiar before divine union can occur. Even sleep, which we approach now as you drift into rest, is a little death. Each night, consciousness dissolves. The ego disappears. We return to the undifferentiated state from which we emerged. And each morning, we are reborn, emerging from the darkness into the light. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep, you participate in this ancient cycle. The stories we have shared, of gods and heroes, monsters and tricksters, underworlds and apocalypses, will dissolve into the darkness of sleep. Perhaps some will appear in your dreams, transformed by your own unconscious into new shapes. And tomorrow you will wake. The night's journey will be over. The sun will rise, as it has risen for billions of years, as our ancestors watched it rise and told stories to explain its return. You will be, in some small way, reborn. And so, dear listener, we come to the end of our journey through the myths of the world. We began with creation, watching universes emerge from cosmic eggs, from primordial waters, from the sacrifice of divine beings, from the creative word. We saw sky and earth separated, so that life could flourish between them, and humanity fashioned from clay and blood, from trees and maize animated by divine breath. We met the gods, those vast beings who embody cosmic forces and all too human personalities. The Olympians with their quarrels and desires. The Egyptian deities in their eternal cycles. The Hindu gods in their cosmic dance. The Norse gods marching toward their doom. The African Orishas mediating between heaven and earth. We followed the heroes on their journeys. Gilgamesh seeking immortality and finding meaning instead. The Greek heroes laboring and wandering. Arjuna learning detachment. Cuchulainn defending Ulster. Sundiata reclaiming his kingdom. We entered the shadow realms, where monsters embody our fears, tricksters upset our certainties, and the dead await in their dim kingdoms. We contemplated the end of all things and the promise of renewal. These are not just old stories. They are the dreams of humanity, arising from our deepest hopes and fears, our attempts to understand what cannot be understood, to give shape to the shapeless, to find meaning in a universe that often seems meaningless. The myths continue because the questions they address continue. We still wonder where we came from, why we suffer, what happens when we die. We still tell stories about heroes who venture into the unknown and return transformed. We still imagine monsters lurking in the darkness and tricksters who upset our plans. The names change, the costumes change, but the patterns remain. In our movies and novels, our video games and comic books, we retell these ancient stories, adapting them to our time while preserving their essential shapes. And perhaps most importantly, we live these stories. Each of us is on a hero's journey, facing trials, descending into dark places, seeking treasures and meanings. Each of us must confront the monsters, both external and internal. Each of us will someday make the journey to the underworld from which there is no return. The myths do not give us answers. They give us images, patterns, ways of thinking about the unthinkable. They teach us that we are not alone, that others have faced what we face and found ways to go on. They connect us to the countless generations who have come before, all looking up at the same stars, all wondering about the same mysteries. Now sleep beckons, that nightly journey into darkness and renewal. The stories we have shared will continue in your dreams, mingling with your own memories and hopes and fears. Perhaps you will dream of gods or heroes, of monsters or underworlds. Perhaps you will dream of nothing at all, dissolving into the peaceful darkness. Whatever comes, know that you are part of an ancient and an ongoing story. The myths are not just about the past. They are about now, about you, about the eternal human struggle to find meaning in existence. You carry them within you, and when you wake, they will rise with you into the morning light. Sleep well, dear listener. The gods are dreaming, and so shall you. The night is deep now, and the stories are told. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Let your body relax into the embrace of rest. The gods of every land watch over your sleep. The heroes who have journeyed before you guard your dreams. The great cycle continues, night giving way to day, death giving way to rebirth, ending giving way to new beginning. You are part of this story, this endless story of creation and destruction, of wonder and fear, of journeys into darkness and returns to light. Rest now. The myths will wait for you. They have waited for thousands of years. They will wait a little longer. Sleep.